and Mark. G'day and welcome to Lady Blackbird, Flight of the Owl, our long-form Lady Blackbird session. This is episode 2, which means that we have set up a bunch of interesting questions and thrilling dramas, and in episode 2, it's probably all going to get worse. This is our Empire Strikes Back, I'm sure. But let's find out about that together. So going left to right in name superiority order, let's go through our previously on this mission. So Ari, being an A man, you would not be surprised by this. You are top of the list. Give us your previously on.
Previously on, you see Kale running down the ship's hangar as the gate is exploded, and she leaps just in time as it takes off and goes into the black yonder.
Dope. Ellen, what's your previously on?
Previously on Lady Blackbird. There was a really awesome scene with Kale and Lady Blackbird. Lady Blackbird doing some cool magic and Kale supporting to help, seal the ship from some hectic damage we got from the deadly deeps.
Awesome. Yeah, that was where we had like diffused consciousness that teleported across time and space, which I'm interested to see how that turns out this time. Lou, previously on.
Previously on Lady Blackbird. I think we see that scene where Natasha Siri is throws her like staff up into the air, and it does the cool like speleograph like animation thing, and I think we kind of get a little time dilation, like and we can kind of maybe we get a little just a tiny little internal monologue from what's his name, Kale, like going, "Oh my god, this is Lady Blackbird," like when he realizes who it is because of the staff, and then we quickly see the giant space gods throwing the ship through the then it cuts to the next previously on.
Which is, Stephen?
Previously on Lady Blackbird. Sorry, that was so American. Yeah, so I think that segues in nicely because you see all the writhing bodies out in space and whatnot, and then it immediately cuts to Naomi grabbing, and I've foolishly not remembered everyone's. Naomi grabbing Cyrus by the lapel and like jamming her finger right in his face and saying, "What have you done with this? And what are your intentions for her?"
That was where we left off with you two, and I'm so excited about that, especially because it's like conflict amid conflict. It's my favorite. Stephen, you're the best. Tomes, what happened previously on?
Previously on Lady Blackbird. And I think I'm just gonna go with Cyrus. There's the one scene. It shows who is, and it says Cyrus Vance, right? And we see that scene again where Cyrus walks into the old captain's quarters, and there's the pool of blood. And as the little pin is picked up from the prior captain and stuck on the vest, the word captain shows up in front of Cyrus Vance. And that's it. It's that question of, wait a minute, what happened to the captain?
That's so good. Mine is going to be previously on Lady Blackbird. We're going to see Lady Blackbird, Lady Blackbird being trained by Naomi, and like the shot of these people with a black on black Blackbird emblem across their chest and back, and they fire upon her, and Lady Blackbird like stands up heroically and shoots and takes a couple of shots, and she hits the ground. And then like we see Naomi being pulled into a room, and we just hear all the shouting and yelling and like her getting torn up and beaten and stuff. And yeah, that happened last time, and it was super interesting to me. And I love you guys. Awesome. So cold open. We're gonna do a oneer now. Oneers are a type of shot that doesn't have cuts. Instead, the camera like follows through, and sometimes it can follow an individual character through a location, and sometimes it can like trade off between characters. Spielberg does them really, really well, and there's a great Nerd Writer video about it. Joss Whedon, terrible person, also does really, really good ones. The thing about oneers and about doing them in this sort of environment is that it's going to be a spotlight sharing exercise. And I do love and trust all of you to like to work with each other and to like know when to take the spotlight and to know when to give it up. And that's super cool. So what we're going to do is we'll start with someone. I don't really care who it is, but someone's going to start, and they're going to show us like inside the owl and this like quiet, no conflict environment, and we're going to kind of watch you guys in your natural habitat. So what I want you to think for your characters and the way you're presenting them is, what does my character do when there's nothing to do? And this is have you guys seen like the Firefly scene where they're like playing cards and like gambling for jobs, like chores on the thing, that sort of thing, or like the cooking up the meal in Alien right before the guy's chest burst of blows, that sort of thing. And the way that we're going to frame it around time is, this is when Lady Blackbird and Naomi are on the ship, probably post Captain Nova's overthrow. But before, this will be like, this scene will end when the Hand of Sorrow captures the owl. So that's where we're going to go. Does anyone have an idea of where they want to start this? And I think the way...
Yeah, I got an idea.
Cool. So Lou, we'll work with you first. And I think the way that we're going to work with it is we'll look at like... This can be a longer scene. It can be a slower paced thing. So maybe a minute scenes each would probably be a good maximum. And then like... but if you want to take over someone early, if you want to do 2 runs, absolutely. Like I trust you all to like share this spotlight well. And we might just step in and like kind of XCardy manage safety tools if we need to, if it gets out of hand. But I think this is going to be fine. Does anyone have anything they want to add to the procedure before we do this?
I'm going to go like this when I want the camera to fly away from me. And somebody else can take control of the camera. Does that work?
You're my favorite at like procedures. That's why I'm definitely going to give you a co-writing credit when the oneer procedure comes out. Okay, so I want to do just the setup, the establishing shot. So the Wild Blue is a vast and untamed place. There are spaces where you can go weeks and months without seeing another person if you want to. And carrying cargo like Natasha Siri, the owl wants to. And so we see like the owl flying just above the lower depths, able to like duck into the mist to escape if it needs to, floating around. We probably see those like writhing bodies underneath it as they like coil and twist, rolling along like dolphins following a cruise ship. And the owl looks small in this infinitesimal space of the Wild Blue. And as we kind of zoom in on it and the details come into relief, we see like the dents and bangs and broken bits of the owl, but we also see its beauty and why it's such a like sleek and elegant ship as it like cuts over this mist and rolls. And we come up to like one of the portholes, and we feel the camera swim inside this porthole. And when it drops in, that's when I'm handing over to you, Lou.
Yeah, I think as the the camera kind of like floats in through the porthole, how's this? I think we see. I think maybe the way that it's moving, we just kind of see this arm come into shot, and this camera swoops around the hands holding this strange thing, and it drops, and it makes this kind of like sound, and then as the camera moves out away from it, we see it's like a phonograph, and this record starts to like spin around and slowly speed up, and we hear these kind of I guess it's like Venetian waltz kind of music, like classical music start playing, and camera swings around some more, and we see Lady Blackbird or Natasha Siri, depending on I guess at this point of the journey only Naomi knows who she is. We see her kind of, I think maybe she's walking towards like a writing desk in this room, and then but she kind of does some childlike like dancing and like skipping to the music as she moves over to her desk, and she sits down at the desk, and I think you get that little voiceover, the music, you get her voice as she starts to write a letter, and I think she's like, my dearest Uriah Flint, it has been many years since we last saw each other, and although you may not even wish it, and I may even reach you before this letter finds you, I'm on my way to you now. And the camera slowly starts moving away from the room. I think we see the staff leaning up in the corner and a few different things around them.
Ooh, can I grab this one?
Yes.
All right. So you know, all that stuff happens, and that last part of the scene, we're actually, as we're hearing the voiceover, we see very precisely the words as they're being, you know, scrawled on this image, and it kind of starts zooming out. Like at first we see the words being written in the full screen, but it kind of starts zooming out, and you see, you know, almost like this brass circle around the whole thing, right? And that's kind of odd. And we get this image of suddenly from the other side, and you see a spyglass, and that spyglass is coming from coming from a closet, right, in this room, right? And then we kind of like see in the closet, it's dark, but there's somebody there, right? We're not quite sure yet. And then we hear the door open a little, like a little bit of a creak, and you can see the light kind of come in, and you see the half shadow of Cyrus, looking out into the room, right? And I think for a moment, yeah, there's we see Natasha turn toward the closet and get up and walk toward the closet and open the door, and we're like, oh shit. She's obviously going to see whoever's there, and she opens the door and the closet is empty, right? And then we see another closet door open in another room, and Cyrus just walks out as if it's just normal. Right behind him, there's just clothes and whatever, and he's got the spyglass in his hand, and he puts it up onto a shelf, and the room is impeccable, right? There's like, the bed is made, it looks like a soldier's room, right? Everything is all put together, and he just walks as if he's just walking through the ship, or walking through the room, and he's about to exit the door, but looks down, and you see him kind of his eyebrows for a little bit, and he leans down, and you get this big, like, unfocused view of him in the background, and you see there's a spot of blood on the floor, and kind of like licks his finger, cleans it all up, and then, just opens the door and walks into the hall and starts walking down one of the halls of the ship.
Do you guys mind if I jump in?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so the door, just as the door shuts, you hear the ceiling sound and it goes completely dark, pitch black. And you hear a cranking sound and a hammering, and then a light on, just suddenly this bright light focus coming from Kale's forehead as she turns the lamp on. And you see wires and cables and all the circuits and connecting tubes. And she finishes work and slides herself out. And then the camera turns face from the top down, and you see her slide out from underneath this huge power plant steam drive into the engine room. And she stands up, dusts herself off. She has a utility belt and a satchel, and she's getting ready, pulls open this huge panel. And as she does, she realizes the entire inside of this thing is held together with bits of yarn. It's just barely holding together. One false move and this entire thing could blow. And she takes a deep breath and just starts laughing. And her laughing gets louder and louder, and she just starts tearing up as she thinks about her friend Goblin and Snaggle. And then we cut from there.
Oh, we definitely don't cut, man. This is a oneer. The camera zooms out and your laughter is loud enough that the camera zooms out and it captures it. And then where does it go, Ellen?
So I'm gonna say, okay, the camera zooms out and it's full body shot of Kale bent over laughing, but then it zooms back into the yarn work, and the camera starts following some of the matrix of the yarn, and it goes through the walls, and there's space rats, and goes past vents, and the camera moves, and you can see Lady Blackbird at a desk writing, and then it shoots back to inside the wall following the yarn, and then turns and looks down another vent, and we can see Naomi there lifting weights or some shit, whatever Naomi does, and then Vax following the yarn, and then it comes out this third vent, and the room is all steamy, and the camera moves through the steam, and it's looking down, and you just see this big circle of bubbling green lumpy liquid, and then the camera spins around, and it's a little old Snargle, and she's got a ladle, and then she's singing to herself, of course, and gets this wooden bowl, shakes it upside down, and a couple of space roaches fall out, and dollops some soup into it, and some creature's legs fall into the soup, and it smells delicious. And she takes out a couple of bowls, and the camera follows her out to a pretty messy galley, and she slops down arms full of soup bowls.
Oh, I can totally pick it up from there. I was gonna have Naomi in the galley, so I'll retcon out the weightlifting bit just because I got something pretty specific. So I think Snargle walks into the galley with these massive bowls of soup, and you see Naomi, and I think the galley is sort of this. I see everything as being round, so I think the walls in the galley are this sort of old polished wood, and all the berths coming off the galley are these circular doors chased with brass. And Naomi is sitting on a wooden chair, leaning back with her legs kicked up, directly in front of Natasha Siri's door, just completely blocking the door out, but at ease. And she's sitting there when Snargle walks in, and she's actually like crocheting. She's got this, or knitting. She's got this like long, like mucky, muddy, like silk scarf. But you can see that she's kind of like crudely knitted or stitched these like beads into it in these really intricate little patterns and whatnot. And you can actually see, if you look at one of the tail ends, that one of the end of it isn't done so well. It's a little bit clumsy, and that she's gotten better and better as she's gone on. And the bit that she's working on is really, really elaborate. And as soon as Snargle walks in with these massive bowls, Naomi like stuffs that down into her shirt and walks over and sits down at the table and like bangs her fist down and says, "Smells delicious."
Can we all walk in from separate directions, like at this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then this is like the scene coming together, and like the shot can like cut from here, but this is everyone coming into the galley together.
Cool.
That's great. That final shot is like you see Naomi, and then the camera just starts. It's almost like in the middle of the table, right? And it just starts turning around in a circle as people are coming in and sitting down, like one after another around the table.
And
Yeah, and I can.
Snuggle's already like face first into her bowl. Nom, 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 nom.
And I think when Cyrus walks in, Naomi's eyes like narrow at him, like she senses something is wrong and that he's done something, but she can't figure out what it is. So she's just suspicious.
Super bodyguard senses.
Yeah, I love it because that look is very kind of like, huh, like suspicious looking, and but it moves from her to his face, and there's just that very like polite nod as if nothing's amiss.
And as like someone opens their mouth, probably Naomi like opens her mouth to ask the first question, the engine of the owl cuts, and it like, I wonder if she can smell blood. The engine of the owl cuts, and the whole ship like rocks on its side, and there's like a PA announcement that comes over with like this scratchy 50s era radio transmission that's crew of whatever you'd be calling it, crew of the Golden Bird, you have been detained by Imperial cruiser Hand of Sorrow. Remain still and prepare to be boarded. And then we cut away from there to like this opening montage. So we went to left to right with the previously on. So let's go right to left. So starting with Tomo, what do we see is your like introductory montage thing where it labels the Tomo as Cyrus Vance.
Just kind of like in the credits or something.
Yeah, so this is like have you seen like in serials how they've got like they'll take clips from throughout the series and some like deleted scenes, and it'll be like emblematic of the character in action.
Right. I think there's definitely, from the last episode, there was a scene where maybe you first saw Captain Nova, to the side of Cyrus. So it was before he was the captain. That was that like flashback negotiation scene or something. But the way Cyrus was standing there was just that's like one of your first impressions, right? It looks like very kind of soldier-esque and but also kind of almost piratey a little bit. He had his arms crossed. He's not wearing too much. So I think there's definitely that part. There's a couple of like cuts. Is that what I'm sensing here?
Yeah, no, you can like it's montage. So it's like it cuts between different things, but because they're cut together, they like speak to each other.
I think there's that. There's the the hitting the big button when that, to make that the big door jam. And I think there's definitely that one because it just, the look of concern on the face, like, oh my God, is this going to work kind of thing. And oh man, I'm tempted to say there's going to be a scene, like something that happens in this episode that people haven't seen yet, right? And they're just like, oh shit, that's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. What is that?
I don't know.
Oh man.
Oh yeah. I mean, so there's a scene where you see Captain Cyrus Vance looking dead in the eyes up in the grill of another captain from a different ship. And there's that moment where the other captain's like, just kind of looking like, haha, I got you, right? And Cyrus is standing there and just punches him in the face. Him or her.
Awesome. I love that. And I love that that's like just foreshadowing this awesome thing that we've got to see somewhere in the next 3 episodes. That's so good. Stephen.
Okay, I can. I think I can segue out of that. How would I do that? Okay, so Cyrus, like, you see that fist like punch forward, and then as the fist punches back, all of a sudden it's Naomi's fist like punching someone in the arena, and you see like her just like raise her hands up, and like this entire crowd of purple people all around her like begin cheering wildly, and then this like segues into the next scene, which is them carrying her out, and the Lady Blackbird like pointing up at her and saying, "She'll do." And Naomi just like, her eyes like going like wide with fright when that happens. And then the next scene is her looking up at the owl with like her eyes just as wide, but like with wonder instead of fear now, and speaking that word freedom. And then it cuts away.
Awesome. That's so good. Lou, your turn to be a dork.
Oh yeah. My one's this kind of it's like the diagonally separated screen. So there's going to be 2 like images on the screen at once. And it's kind of that thing that they do in the intro to anime sometimes, where you see the characters in a pose, but like the background and things around them are moving. So I think in the first frame we see, I think there's Natasha's Siri, and she's like, ah! Like that, and like there's Snuggle like offering her some like disgusting like food with some like the only parts animated are like maybe like there's a cockroach swimming in it, and she's like, ah! But then in the other frame down below, there's like her with the staff, and like we can see, or maybe it's actually her and Kale, like that bit where they're floating out in space with the staff, and there's all like the space gods and stuff. So it's kind of the showing the prissiness and the like badass power.
Yeah. Awesome. Ellen.
So cut from that shot of them being awesome and powerful out of the ship to like a shot of the ship like darting through space, pew pew pew, lasers going off, pew pew pew, and then like then a shot of like the pilot seat, or you can just see the back of the seat like moving with the direction of the ship, and then like the camera turns like cuts, and it's like Grandma Snuggle right up against the windscreen with the big Coke bottle glasses, and you just hear a blinker on. The blinker's on.
Sorry, I absolutely lost that for a while. Oh, that's so good. Ari, please.
I'm gonna take XP for that one.
Yeah, please do. Ari, what do you got, dog?
Yeah, so we see Kale, a quick shot of Kale stealing a card from the security officer Gilbert in the last episode. And then the next shot is her doing somersaults as laser beams are firing at her, and she marks a perfect landing, and she kind of gives a close up and wiggles her eyebrows. And then after that is her swinging her electro rapier, and she cuts the letter K with it, and it forms tail at the end of it.
That's so awesome. That's absolutely primo Kale. And so we come out of this cold open in the credits into the episode proper, and it looks like we're still in that same sort of shot where all the crew's in the galley, and you've just been captured by the Hand of Sorrow, but there's like characters are just dressed differently. It's obviously a different scene, and that's because this is where you have shot through time and space into Olympia, and your ship rocks in the same way that it did when it was captured by the Hand of Sorrow. And we see, man, I've been thinking about this all week, and I have like a couple of different ways, and I don't know which one I'm going to go with for this. But I think the one that most interests me is that we see, yeah, spot on, Timmer. We see the portal in space and time that you were thrown through closing, and the thing that it's closing around is this enormous sky squid, which has like followed you through out of the mist, and has wrapped its tendrils around the owl. And then as soon as it's gotten into this like atmosphere of Olympia, of the planet, we can see it like starting to die. And so this space kraken sky squid is falling from the air, and it's dragging the owl down with it. And I think the shot is like this fairly wide shot of this like tiny owl ship being monstered by this enormous beast, and then we see it like falling to the ground. And I have to ask, who do I have to ask? Naomi, you have got like, actually, that's right. That wasn't the shot. You weren't all in the galley. Naomi, you're in Cyrus's room, and you have like finger up against his face, right? You're like challenging his authority as you like probably over his shoulder through a window see one of the enormous suckers of this tendril like attached to the side of the ship, and you feel the gravity start to pull you down. What do you do?
Does Cyrus have a weapon, Tomer?
Huh. I'm gonna say yes. He has he's got this blade. It's you can sometimes catch a little bit of it under his vest that he wears, and the vest is a little bit loose, so occasionally you'll kind of like see a glint of steel in there. And you recognize that blade. Like that is a what are the standard soldiers or whatever? Was there a thing? There's like a name for the
Marines, Imperial Marines?
Yes, it's an Imperial Marine blade.
Okay. Okay. So she's seen those before. So I think she's got her finger up in his face, and then she looks over his shoulder and she says, "This is what I mean." And she like reaches into his vest and grabs that blade out and runs to the portal. And like, I view them as like having these, like, they're like hatches, right? So, they seal and everything, but I think she can like pop that open, and without even really thinking, she just like pops that hatch open and like stabs out with that Marine's blade, and tries to cut into the tentacle.
That's awesome. So I reckon there's like so I'm trying to think of what the stakes of this are, because like stabbing into it, I think is gonna end one of two ways. So let's find out. Let's grab some dice out.
I like as a viewer in that last scene, you do think for a second that she's totally like gonna stab Cyrus as well.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I mean, and like passed and into the thing.
Yeah, that would be cool if like they were close enough to the portal that like it looked like she was gonna like stab him, and then it just went over his shoulder into the tentacle instead. I like that better.
Awesome. I love that myself as well. So let's do this. You have your one sheet there, and we also have a roll for your party somewhere there. Roll for your parties there. So
okay, hang on. I gotta hit the, what is it? Funky dice, right?
Yeah, funky dice will give you DH if you want those.
Okay, so I think this is going to be off Pit Fighter, so that's 1. So that's 2. Brutal, fast, and combat tested is what I would go with. Is that cool? So that's 5.
That's 5. Too easy. So I think we're going to ask about what your intent is here. So is your intent to is your intent to get the Sky Squid to let go of the ship, I guess?
She doesn't know what the Sky Squid is. Her intent, she just reflexively is like stabbing out at a danger. So
oh, cool. So I think
just trying to break as much shit as she can.
Beautiful. So I think then we're probably looking at like a 4 because this thing is enormous. So probably looking at actually you're not going for a big outcome. So let's call it a 3, like a difficult-ish outcome. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to add any pool dice to that?
Yeah, I'm going to add 4 pool dice to that.
Cool.
So I'm going to give myself a total of 9.
Okay.
So that's 9DH.
9DH. I'm looking for 3 successes.
Okay. Okay. Successes get X's, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 successes.
Cool. Are you on the endlessly golden bird roll for your party?
I must be on the old one. I am on legally vast goat.
Ah, cool. I'll add this one just because I couldn't see that. We're using this one just because Ari couldn't use the goat one.
Ah, okay. Sorry about that.
No, it's good. You could. And I also like that endlessly golden bird is the false flag that you're flying under in the owl, which makes you very happy. So super success. All right. Tell me like what you do as you stab at this tentacle.
So I think like I view like Cyrus as kind of like, you know, impulsively getting out of the way as this thing goes over his shoulder, and her knife comes down through that through that portal, and basically just like leaves a massive gash that more or less severs about 2/3 of that tentacle as it goes through it, because marine blades are like incredibly sharp, right? They're like one of the best combat blades in the verse. So I think it like severs 2/3 of that, and then you would just hear like this massive impained roar come from the rear of the vessel.
Yeah, and it's like it's a Goliath roar, right? Like it seems to come from everywhere at once because it's so big, and we probably see like the windows of buildings on the ground vibrate as this roar goes off, and the tentacle falls from the side of the owl, and as it falls, it like lands in the city and like crushes a building or two and throws dust up in the air and all that sort of stuff. I think also as you cut it, like okay, who would know about this? Snargle, you'd know about weird stuff in the verse, in the Wild Blue. What happens when like what do Sky Squids bleed?
They they bleed. It looks like black blood, but there are almost like rocks in their blood that then those rocks, once they're in space, they come into connection with other, rocks and other particles and end up forming small planets.
Yeah, there's like asteroid belts made entirely of squid blood.
Yes.
Yeah, that's super cool. And so, like, I think the edge of the tentacle that's still attached to the beast like hangs limply, and it falls inside the window that you've opened, and it these like rocks start to pour this like thin granular. I think of it almost like asphalt or tar. Like it feels like a liquid, but it's just like a powdery solid flows out onto the ground, and it does something really weird, which is that blood, Sky Squid blood avoids blood. There's this like weird interaction where it can't interact with human blood, and we just see it like in Cyrus's room where he's been cornered. It like forms this little pool of negative space as it flows around. Kinetic sand, yeah, Lou, it's a great hit. It like flows like kinetic sand onto the floor and creates this little negative space that's like almost a human outline with like bits of it flying around. And that's probably like right where Naomi's standing, and like you see it flow around your feet. And yeah. I want to cut away quickly, or not quickly, but I want to move away to Lady Blackbird. You can see out your window because you did this mind meld in your room, and you can see out of your window that you're above the city of Olympia, which I assume would have traveled to before.
Yeah, totally.
And you can also see that there's something else out there that's like writhing around the ship and pulling you down. And I got to ask, like, what do you feel being back in Olympia after trying to get away? And what do you do?
Well, kind of part of the reason that we're actually here is because she was thinking about where she really wanted to be, right? When she was down with those the gods of the deep or whatever they are. So they kind of sent her to where she actually, even though part of her, I guess, is trying to get to her lover, I think being stuck on this ship and being in prison, she wants to go. I guess the selfish part of her wanted to travel back to where she'd experienced the most comfort and luxury, maybe. And this is like where that is. So I think she probably, but a big part of it totally doesn't want to be here as well because she's gonna get captured and sent home.
So where was the location, like the building, the place where you experienced the most comfort and luxury in Olympia?
I think maybe it's like some sort of opera like house or like, that sort of thing. Like I think maybe if, like, to paint a picture of it, maybe you see her like in a box, with her family and stuff, and like probably in quite a prime position. Maybe you even see some of the other houses all in those raised high up boxes, probably being served by goblin waiters.
Yeah, served by goblin waiters and like attended to by purple skinned servants.
Totally, yeah. Yeah.
And so that's like where you are. You are above this like opera house, and I imagine it like
maybe the opera house gets smashed by the.
Oh, I don't want to smash it just yet. I love the idea, but like that'd be where it would land, like this huge tentacle like coils around this opera house, and I imagine like a stadium, like big and open air with like a steampunky roof on it and like lots of chimneys and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it's like a kind of Greek or Roman amphitheater, but it's probably got like a imagine like a like an insect shell kind of like brass dome thing that can close over it and like open up when the weather's like better.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of like where we're plummeting to at the moment. Snuggle. Snuggle, the owl is not flying. I think we left you in the engine room. I think you just like finished fixing the engine and making sure that it wasn't leaking anymore. But the engine just like is struggling and whirring, and you can hear it, but it's not pushing the ship anywhere. The tri-valve reciprocating steam drive is just like idling with no resistance from the air. What do you do?
Snuggle looks at the tri-valve reciprocal steam drive and like readjusts her glasses, licks her finger, puts it in the air, is like, we're going down. All right, brace for landing, everyone, brace for landing. And she gets down from a crate that she was standing on and creaks away, hobbles down the corridor, up a ladder, into some crawl space inside the skin of the owl, and starts pulling these big long yarn ropes, big fabric, yarn and fabric, and she hoiks it over her shoulder, goes down a little bit, pops a hatch, and like starts hoiking this yarn fabric out the hatch. And once that catches the wind, it puffs out into this beautifully crafted parachute, and it lowers the owl.
Oh my god!
To the ground.
I really want to put dice to that, but I don't want to do that just yet. I want to see. Kale, have you heard what a sky squid sounds like when it dies before?
I've only heard of it.
Right. So can you describe what you've heard of it to us?
You don't actually hear the sound. The vibrations build up in your head, and if it hits a certain frequency, it's really, really bad for you.
Right. So do you recognize what it feels like as this sky squid like struggles to breathe in the atmosphere?
Yeah, it's probably doing things to my mind. Like my ears are in pain, but it may actually be happening to others as well. But it's triggering some memories, maybe some things that you tried to lock away in the back of your head, things you try to forget. It brings back these awful things.
Well, that's an awesome opportunity. Let's talk about that. I want to talk about one of the memories it's going to bring up for you is a scene that we talked about we wanted to see, and I'd really like it, which is I want to see like a scene with you, Snuggle, and Cyrus, and this is going to be like, I want to see why Nova needed to be overthrown. Like what about her led to this mutiny? And so like what's the this like we see this like we hear this low frequency rumbling. We see Kale physically in pain, and as she like holds her head, the screen shakes a little bit and starts to waver and go into soft focus. And when it comes back, we're on the owl. It's flying cleanly, and Snuggle, what are you getting in trouble for?
The captain didn't like my repair techniques. They said that was off the code. It was unorthodox. That it wouldn't work.
And she's probably like standing over you, like trying to be this looming, imposing figure. And she's got a pipe in her hand, like a pipe that she's just torn from the wall of the owl. And she's holding it in her hand menacingly. And she's like, you do what I say, Goblin. I own you. Kale, this is your memory. So you're watching this. From which perspective are you, like, how do we see you watching this interaction?
Just to be clear, who is saying that to her?
Nova, the previous captain.
Okay. And what do we know about Captain Nova?
That she was a previous captain.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah. I'm torn right now because I think I had a very close connection with Captain Nova.
Ooh.
And this might even be a moment where I have to decide. Goblin, I keep saying that. Snargle is really. I can ask Snargle. How long have we known each other up to this time?
I think we've known each other a long time because I've been flying ships well before you were born.
Yeah.
And I think I probably was I the pilot on your first ship when you were an apprentice mechanic?
I don't think so. I think this would have been the ship that I met you.
Oh, okay. Yep.
I probably picked up. I'm thinking even I picked up my skills from my father, who was maybe a mechanic, but not in ships, but just in general.
Yeah. I think you probably know of me, whether or not we've worked around. I think you've probably heard stories about the crazy old goblin pilot.
Okay, so you're the one I always come to when I need a confidant, when I need someone to talk about things. I always have things on my mind. I always come to you in either in the engine room or somewhere, and I just let loose. And sometimes it's pretty tearful. But Captain Nova doesn't know that. Captain Nova and I have a more physical relationship. She's very domineering, very controlling. So I think this is the moment where this is the first time I actually confront her. I get between you and her, and she's never seen that before. So I just get up, put myself physically between the two of you, and I say, "Stop it!" And I try to grab her arm and keep her from getting aggressive with you.
That's awesome. Would you like to roll some dice for this?
Sure.
And I like it because this isn't Kale's wheelhouse, which is great. So this will be a 3 because you're trying to intimidate a bully, and that's an easy thing to do. So this will be a 3, but it's also like not something you're good at, which I love, right? That it's talking to that negative space. Yeah.
She doesn't have, the only thing I can see here is quick, dirty fighting, maybe.
I think that I could. I was thinking that I would put my hand on the captain's shoulder and say, like that, not on the captain's shoulder, on your shoulder, and say, "Kale, she's not worth it. I'm 172."
And I love that. But I think I want to tie up the resolution of Kale stepping to Nova first, and then we'll look at the de-escalation after that. Because I think
Yeah.
that's an interesting question.
So so that's 3 plus. I see 2 things that I could do. So that's tricky. That's 1. Actually, 2. Tricky, quick, and dirty fighter. That's 6 total.
6 total. So you get. Oh, are you adding pull dice in there already? Are you counting that?
Yeah, and I think the dirty fighter is like I slip, like as I'm grabbing her, I slip an elbow into her ribs where she can't see it, kind of like knock the wind out of her. So there's 6.
That was awesome. That was really cool. Like, I love that you wanting that extra die, like tying back into that fiction. That's super cool. And like pushing you a little bit harder to be a little bit more violent. So yeah, 6 total. Roll them up. Let's see what you get. We're just looking for 3 successes.
Okay. 6. Doesn't work. Hit the roll. It doesn't like me for some reason.
Oh no! Did it work?
Yeah, I hit roll selected, but nothing's happening.
You hit submit.
Oh, submit. Here we go. Yeah, there we go. Do you see it?
Yay! I do.
Okay. So I'm looking for 4s and ups. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah, I got 4 successes.
Cool. And I think that's it. Like, you just confront her, you put that thing into her, and she like rolls with the blow, and you can see it hit her and it impacted her, and like she's a little bit winded, but she doesn't show pain on her face. And she just looks at you with like a glare, and she says, like through gritted teeth, she's like, Kale, after all we've been through together, you're gonna stand up for the goblin. You're gonna choose the goblin over me, over your captain.
She's a lot more. She's a lot more than that, just a goblin. Her name is Snargle, and she's been there for me for a lot more times than you have lately.
She looks at her and says, she's replaceable. She's an asset, a tool. I could buy 3 of her tomorrow that would be able to fly and fix the ship better than she does. And she like glares at you, glares at Snargle, but she sees that you're standing firm. And she doesn't. Oh yeah, and spot on, Ellen. Like she's third personing you while you're in the room. It's super rude. And she glares at you, and she's like, I'm gonna be magnanimous and let this slide this once. But you stepped me again, Kale, and I'll have you off this ship. And I tell you what, you put that elbow into me again, and I won't wait for a port to kick you off.
Yeah, I think that scares her a little bit. And she's probably going to back down, but she does give a look to Snargle, just like a quick glance, letting her know that I think this is the point. This is maybe the first time in the sort of the tipping point where she goes from being between the two of them towards Snargle. Definitely.
Yeah, it's like you step back and like we physically see you like closer to Snargle. That's super cool. And Nova turns on her heels, and she turns with a military precision as well. She is trained, and she spins on her heels, does this big about face, just drops the pipe to her side, and as she storms out, we hear her saying, "I'll speak to Cyrus about this. He's supposed to hold a bit more discipline on this ship."
Nice.
Yeah. Lou, I do need to see that scene at some point. Yeah, that's super cool. Do you, Snuggle?
Could I just? This doesn't have to be something that actually happens in the show, but I just wanted to say I was totally, how Snargle can shapeshift. I was totally imagining like when the Captain Nova like turned away from her, like changing her face to look like Captain Nova's and being like, it's like behind the. But yeah. Anyway.
Oh, that's so good. Now, Snuggle, Kale, do you guys want to cut that there, or do you guys want to have like a discussion between you about what the aftermath of that scene is? Or
I'm happy with moving forward. I feel like the body language said a lot there, but yeah, if we want to play it out, that's cool too.
I'm happy with that too.
Yeah,
Like,
cool.
as I said before, hand on Kale's shoulder. I'm like, it's not worth it.
It's not worth it. I love that. I love that Snargle's bigger than that. That's so cool. Because like she is the worst. And I want to come back to that at some point. But and we will. I think we'll just got some traffic. Okay. We will come back to this mutiny because I love it. But for now, Naomi, the ship is like continuing to fall. Kale is like incapacitated in another room with her head vibrating with this ultrasonic frequency, and I think like you're starting to feel the beginning of the effects of it as well. What do you do?
Actually, I wanted to see if I could jump in here.
Oh, sorry.
We were in that scene together, right? You grabbed my blade right from my own body, and then ran off and did this thing, right?
Well,
and this is actually
go ahead. Like they're still in close contact,
right? I think, and we see exactly what you were alluding to, right, Sid? So like, Naomi's starting to like, we pan out from Kale, and then we see that Naomi's also being affected in this way, and we look behind her now, and you see Cyrus walking up to her, and there's something sticking out of his ears, right? He has earplugs that he's already put into his ears because he knows what's happening here, right? And he's unaffected by this. And as Naomi's kind of like starting to shake a little bit, he like reaches over, grabs, like his intention is to grab the blade, but Naomi might still be on top of her shit, right? I mean, she's pretty scrappy, right? Like I kind of like the idea that maybe they're almost like struggle over the blade a little bit, right? Like he tries to grab it and she does like some turnaround, like, no, fuck that. But you could see she's physically being shaken, but there's a little bit of like back and forth, but I kind of want to come out on top. And I don't know if that's like a role thing or.
It'll depend, Stephen. Are you okay with giving up the?
He's okay. She's okay with giving up the blade. She's not going to like let herself get hurt. She was actually going to give it back anyway.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to go to like full out PvP here. I hope not, at least, because that's not.
Oh well, that's what she may want, but Cyrus has got something different in his mind, right? And I think one of the things that we see is that when he grabs the blade, like he hits a little button on the end of it, and it kind of like extends. And it almost looks kind of like a little bit of a scimitar or something, right? It's from something that's like a long dagger to suddenly it's a little sword, right? And his intention is to stick it right under her neck. I don't know how hard she's fighting that.
Oh, she's not going to be cool with that. No.
Right.
What's the intent of this outcome here?
The intent is to say, don't you fucking touch my shit. That was 100% crossing the line. This is an Imperial Marine's blade, and nobody touches it except for an Imperial Marine. Even if it's an ex-Imperial Marine.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, like, in that kind of a conflict, like, she wouldn't want, or she would just try to make sure that she wasn't seen as weak. So she would give the blade back, but she would like try to put him up against the wall, with that blade in his hand. So that's what she would want out of it.
Right. So it's like a posturing thing about like.
Yeah, it's more of a posturing thing.
Yeah.
I would love to see the outcome of this posturing. I don't know if there's a PvP type thing.
There is. It's a opposed roll system, and basically you build dice balls, roll them. Whoever gets more successes wins, and yeah.
Well, let me put it this way to Naomi here. if you don't oppose me, I want to make it look like you are. I want to put this up onto your throat. I want you not, this is not like, I'm not shitting, right? I'm not like fucking around here.
Okay, so yeah, what she's gonna try to do is put it up to your throat instead.
Yeah, let's do it.
Brilliant.
I wish I hadn't used all my dice pool earlier. I feel like this won't go well. All right. So it's just a straight opposed roll. I'm gonna go.
Yeah, you just build your die pools and put as many pool dice as you want into it, and we'll see where it goes.
Pit
I
fighter
really hope that this pissing contest you're gonna make it cost us real bad when we get into the next situation and no one has like pool dice.
Of course,
that would be a really cool example, like a moral to the story.
So what? Yeah, and that's the scene that I'm seeing is like the ship is literally falling from the sky, like plummeting with the weight of a giant dying sky squid around it that is like tearing at people's psyches, and you two are jerking each other off in the captain's quarters, and like this is absolutely going to cost you, but it's going to be great, and I'm so happy with it.
It could also that could be the excuse that part of it is the psychic effect of the dying space kraken too. Like maybe they would have kept their cool a bit more, but they're like, ah!
Well, Cyrus has got earplugs, so he's just being a cock.
Oh yeah.
All right, cool. So let's see. So where you're all at with your dice?
All right, I'm going to use warrior.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to use battle-hardened fencing and sword.
I mean,
don't know. How does that work?
Fencing is the only
Fencing,
one I'm gonna query you on. But other than that, yeah, battle-hardened and sword are really, really good.
Yeah.
If you had brawl, this is the ones that you haven't selected yet offer like a negative space. So the fact that you don't have brawl is, I think, a big thing there.
Yeah.
Cool. And Naomi.
I'm going to use pit fighter, combat tested, living weapon, fast, because he's trying to like move on.
Suddenly the captain's
and I think brutal. I think brutal would work.
Yeah, cool. You don't fuck with Naomi in a fight, I think is something we're all going to learn. Yeah. Cool. So I think we've got like 6 with Naomi. So 1 pit fighter, combat tested, brutal, living weapon, fast. Yes, that's 6. And Cyrus, you had 3 and the 1 for luck, so you're up to 4. And throw in as many pool dice as you feel is appropriate.
I kind of want to do this where we don't tell each other how many dice. Maybe we'll put it in the chat and then we'll put our hands off and hit enter at the same time.
All right. Okay. So put them in. I'll count you down. Make your decision.
So I'm going to put 3+, and then I'll put however many of the other dice I'm going to use.
Are you interested with this, Stephen? Does this work for you?
Yeah. So you're putting in the chat how many you're using.
Yeah, I'm putting the number of dice I have now, which is 3+, and then I'll put the number of the dice pool. And so you've got 6+ something, right? Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay.
So, firstly, fuck the both of you for going to PvP and making this all harder. Let's do this. So, post them up in 3, 2, 1. What you got?
Wait, I'm typing.
Oh,
Yes.
Ooh, interesting. All right, cool.
I'm so excited.
So 9v9. Let's see who
just
comes
for the
up.
viewers at home, there's some side betting going on here. Me and Ari have got money on the captain. Luke's betting on Naomi. We'll see. Sid, are you going to throw some money into the rink, or you're being
I think
unbiased GM?
Yeah, I think if I put myself on a side, it's only going to end badly. So let's just say I am putting money on a good story. And I'm putting money on us respecting each other in a PvP arena.
It feels like everybody's having fun.
I'm going to choose the red dice, but I'm leaving purple for Naomi here.
It's very gracious.
Do you use DH? DH is the head or tails. That's the X's and the blinks. Okay.
Yeah, the H is excellent as blanks. Otherwise, you can use like D6, whatever you want.
All right, I'm ready.
All right, you ready? I'm ready.
All right, I'm gonna hit submit. Let's see what happens.
All right.
Oof.
Did we just tie?
Beautiful. This is so good. This is so good because a tie. So I'm doing a bit of game design at the moment, which is about like higher versus lower rolls, and the tie is like shit goes south, and I reckon that's the same thing here, which is like
Sounds fair.
I'm gonna take narrative control and I'm gonna like bend the both of you. So I think like we see Cyrus like lunge at Naomi with this lengthened blade, and as he steps forward, the owl pitches backwards and like his weight goes backwards, and then Naomi grabs that hand and like pushes him up against the wall, and as she does, we see like where her hands hit the wall, she just dents the owl. Like that force of her sledgehammer blow is just like poof.
Wait, you cut out for like 2 important seconds. What happened?
Oh no. So Naomi like grabs his weapon hand and probably puts the other one like on the blade itself and like pushes him up, and we can see like a little bit of blood rolling down, all this sort of stuff, and the teeth are gritting. And as she puts him up against the wall and dents the wall with her sledgehammer blows, the owl pitches the other way, and we see like stumble backwards. You're both going to mark the angry condition, I think, because this is like a really emotional moment for you both. That feels like that to me. As this happens, the owl hits the ground. Now we need to know what the impact of that is, and that's going to be based on Snargle's deployed yarn parachute. But we're going to take a break and then come back to it. Before we take a break, though, I just want to do a quick check. Pacing has been a little bit different. People have had a little bit more time out of the spotlight and a little bit more time as a length in the spotlight. Is everyone still enjoying this pacing? Is it working for them? Cool.
I love it.
It's heaps fun, and I think that PvP was really fun, even though you didn't necessarily want to go there, Sid.
I just worry about it because like I don't. Stephen and Tomo, both of you, I don't know you that well, and like I don't know where your lines are. So I'm really hoping that you like. I trust you to respect each other and stuff, and it's cool because I think like the shot that we see is like you two fighting back and forth in this momentum, like rolling with no one really getting the upper hand for longer than a second or two, and then it's like everything goes black, and there's just this huge reverberation as the owl pitches into the ground. Hey man, if you think that Cyrus is a battle-worthy foe, I think that's an appropriate decision.
I think that to me that XP is almost like the what the scene looked like, right? Maybe there was a little bit of like this back and forth. We can see, one person one up the other, and then the other person one up the other. Like you think somebody's got the upper hand, and then there's like kind of like a flip.
I want to add one
that's
more
really
thing.
cool. I like that they tied up because I've been trying to like build tension between them anyway. So this leaves that unresolved if it never finishes. So
it's I'm so excited to see this like tension continue. I think that the other thing that we see amongst all of this is that where like when Naomi grabs the blade and her hand bleeds a little bit and it like drips onto the ground, where her blood hits the ground, that like kinetic sand scuttles away from it. And just like leaves this drop of blood like hitting the floor of the owl.
Oh, can I add one more thing?
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah, please do.
So I've been trying to add this in for a while. I think they're going back and forth, and both of them get some shots in and whatnot. And I think at one point, like Naomi's sleeve actually gets cut, like just her sleeve though, not the skin beneath it. And when that sleeve falls open, Cyrus actually sees that she's got like a brand, and he can't tell what it is, but it's like black and round. but like you can't actually see what the full symbol is underneath her clothing.
Oh, it's totally a Blackbird brand, isn't it? We branded you. Shit.
Yeah, yeah. You wouldn't necessarily know that yet, right?
Thank
We
you. I
probably,
love it.
yeah, that's heaps cool. Everyone wants to keep talking. They must be having fun, Sid.
They must be. They must be.
Break.
All right. Let's take a break before I fall in love with you all and just keep playing for like 2 hours. So let's go for 6 minutes. I've got it at 7:54. Let's go to the top of the hour, and I'll catch you all in 6 minutes. Hey, Lou.
Hi, I was weirdly watching you drawing the owl episode 1 in the break.
Oh. Let me know when you think of them, hey, because at the moment they're just like unplanned, unscripted stream of consciousness stuff. Like I know what I want to talk about, but then I just go where my enthusiasm takes me.
I liked the first 3 minutes.
Thank you.
I'm like, I'm not getting enough Sid. I need to watch Sid in a video in the break.
I like the first 3 minutes is what Sophie used to tell me when we were dating too. It's terrible, Tony. Oh shit, I'm recording this. It's alright, she won't watch it. She's busy now. I'm super excited about this session because I feel like this session is going to be so much less about what's actually happening and so much more about like flashbacks.
And I like how the flashbacks are totally gonna like heavily inform the mood of what is like the action or whatever that's going on. That's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm also planning to try and incorporate some more of like the houses of the verse because I want to get Lady Night Song in from Jesse Ross's new design just to like integrate. Oh man. But again, like standard safe check, everyone's okay with the tone, everyone's happy with where things are going and the pace. No one does anyone I think I feel like I want to see something about young Lady Blackbird and Naomi now. Like I want to see like that flashback to like when you guys are just figuring each other out. Does that interest anyone else or is it just me?
I also like the idea of I've got this idea in my head because of the age that I'm thinking that Lady Blackbird is like young, like early 20s or something. And that it says in the text that she hasn't seen Uriah Flint for like 6 years or something like that, which means they were in their mid-teens or whatever. I kind of like the idea of maybe seeing Naomi chaperoning these teenagers or something at some stage. That kind of would be a cool thing to me.
All right. So, that's what I need to see first. Sorry, before I go into this. No, let's go into it and we'll cut back to it because that's going to be cool too. Ellen, I've promised you like 3 times we're going to do this roll for Snuggle. You okay to wait another like 10 for another scene? Cool. All right. I love you. I'm so glad that this is going through. So
and can we just before this cut, right?
Yeah.
Like you were talking about the darkness, right? We're seeing this fight between the two of them. And there was the one part of like the Naomi had the sword and the denting metal and all that kind of junk, right? And it almost looks like, I want to say it looks like she's winning, right? Like in that sense, right? She's got this aggressive upper hand, but you see that Cyrus has pulled out a gun and is like a pistol and is holding it up to her head, right? Like just between them. So it's like, it's really this tie, like they're about to kill each other, right? And then we see that darkness and then just like flashback, right?
Yes.
So you don't even know. Yeah.
That's so good. So we flash back to the opera with a young Lady Blackbird. And Lou, we'll let you like dictate the age and stuff as we go. But this will be the scene of Lady Blackbird first meeting Uriah Flint. Now he's a space pirate, right? But I reckon at this time he's like a space pirate cabin boy. He's like a lackey, and he was here undercover when you first met him. And so, Lou, can you take us into like Lady Blackbird? And I think there's not a scene where Lady Blackbird doesn't have Naomi by her side. Take us.
Yeah. So I think I guess Uriah Flint crew is here maybe planning some sort of heist or like tailing some rich person that they're going to. Maybe it's actually, I kind of like the idea that it's the Blackbirds that they're casing. So I think maybe, the little binoculars on the stick. We see like a young Lady Blackbird like in her mid-teens or something. She's looking down at the opera, but I think she's bored of this opera. It's not a cool opera. It's like an opera for like old people. It's not like there's some like new like cutting edge opera that she would prefer to be at. That's like edgy opera. And so I think she slowly starts like moving the things around, and she's just looking at notables in the crowd and stuff.
Yeah, so like your eyes cut over one of the notables who's like wearing like a really long flowing gown, and he looks very arcane and very like mystical, and it's Lord Skurlock, and even his bodyguards have to like take a couple of steps back from him because of like just this sheer force of will that he emanates.
Jesus.
And I think there's probably a shot of you traveling over. Let's use Lady Nightsong, or sorry, the Nightsong clan, and they have like a they have a very vibrant, almost as dark as the Blackbird's emblem is. Theirs is like the opposite. It's like bright pinks and purples and extravagant and flowing, and it's almost impossible to miss her because she's got like this almost peacock-like long hair that's been dyed different colors as it stages down.
Cool. And then she's seen all these people before. They're at the opera all the time. So she moves past them. And then I think maybe moves across to a box kind of across from them. And there's these like people she hasn't seen there before. They're dressed really well, but they look like there's something rough and exciting about them. And then she looks, and there's like a young man there, like probably a couple of years older than her, that's also got the like binoculars on a stick, and he's like looking. They have this weird, moment of looking at each other through the binoculars.
He's probably like holding the binoculars by like the side with the stick just hanging down like along his arm.
Yeah, and I think he's like he smiles, and I think
just quickly, I want to ask Naomi. You're very astute, and when you cast your eyes around the opera and you see this group of people, what is it about them that tells you they're dangerous?
It's actually the eyes. Like even from as far apart across as they are, Naomi still recognizes what a killer's eyes look like because she's seen so many of them.
So this guy that's looking through the binoculars, that like as he sort of takes them away and puts them back, does he have the killer's eyes as well? This like young, like 14, 15-year-old kid?
Absolutely.
Oof, rough.
Bad boy. And I think I was just thinking it's kind of something I'm just going to steal something that I'm probably not meant to have yet from another like key or something. Maybe I won't ever choose it. I don't think. I think he I'm looking at him, and he does this quick little hand movement that is something he's totally not meant to know, and it's like it's the Blackbird like family. They have hand signals. They kind of like thieves' cant, and they're meant to be only like each family has its own like thing, so they can kind of communicate. And he's heaps not meant to know this, and he's like, meet me out the back in like 10 minutes or something. And then I guess it's subtitled on the screen. And I think you see the camera's right on young Lady Blackbird's face, and you see her eyes, just like Naomi sitting right next to her. You just see her. Yeah, you just see her eyes like looking, like only her eyes move and look across at Naomi.
She's still looking through the spectacles, right?
Who's not? Is Lady Blackbird not looking through them, did you say? I think she's still looking through them, yeah.
Okay. So I think Naomi's like ceremonial weapon or whatever, and she's in full livery and everything, so she's in like full black leathers and all that, like very ceremonial in appearance. And I think her like signifier of office or whatever is basically like the spear that's got like black silk kind of trailing around at the bottom of it. And I think, Natasha is looking across, or Lady Blackbird's looking across at this guy. And of course, Naomi can't actually see what they're saying to one another. She can't read the house cant or anything, but she knows that they're looking at one another. So as right after Natasha gets that message, all of a sudden her eyeglasses just start moving back towards the stage. And when she looks back, it's because Naomi has like used the end of her spear to like gently push the eyeglasses away from that box and back to the stage again.
That's awesome.
And I'm happy to flash back to we can leave that there if you want. I'm happy to see some more of that like opera scene later on if you want, but that felt satisfying to me.
Yeah, Naomi, your feels? Oh, sorry, Stephen, your feels?
Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm good with that.
Okay. That sounded super convincing. So
No. I've got additional flashbacks for Naomi later. That's
great. Beautiful. I love it. So Snuggle. We'll get to you later. No, I'm kidding. Snuggle, you are deploying like a parachute at the back of this thing?
If you want to, we could leave the parachute till the very end and like just have this like an entire flashback episode, and like the episode resolves, well, doesn't resolve, but finishes on whether or not we successfully landed in Olympia.
I'm super okay with that. Okay. I want to. I can't go straight to Naomi again. All right, I'm going to go to another one. Cyrus, this is a flashback for you. And the way that it cuts is that position that you're in up against the wall of your ship. Not necessarily with a blade to your throat or anything like that, but just pressed up against that wall. That's where we find you. And instead of a sword, Captain Nova has her hand pressed across your chest, or her arm pressed across your chest, and she's barring you up against this wall. And I get the feeling that if you wanted to overpower her, you probably could. And so the question is, what does she have on you to keep you in line?
So we see that one hand with me up against the wall, and my muscles are, my hand is clenched, right? In fact, you probably even, it trails down my arm, and you can see that I've grabbed that same blade. It's like shoved in, to a different location, like behind my leg or something. And my hand is actually around it, but I'm not acting on that impulse. And what we haven't seen thus far is the other hand. And so we now see she's holding in her other hand, and it's a like a flyer, like a poster. And it's got my picture on it, like a drawing of my image on it, and it's a wanted flyer, right? And there is like the price tag is really high, and there's a whole bunch of things on there that look fairly nefarious too, right? Like all the charges, right? Killing a superior officer, allowing innocent civilians to die. I want to say even so far, like things that are just kind of like unsavory, right? There's like a list of things there, right? And it's just silent, right? It's a quiet scene. She's just holding it up into my face, and and you can see my hand like kind of melt away. And yeah, I'm totally cool with all the stuff you guys, like any of that stuff you guys are chatting in there as far as charges.
And she sees that you're restraining yourself, and she says, I can always trust the soldier to have a little bit of discipline on this ship. And she takes a step away from you, and she turns her back on you, like totally trusting in the fact that she controls you, that she doesn't have to fear you. And it's like a sign of arrogance, and she turns her back on you, and she says, "I'm calling Kale up here to your room right now. I want you to teach her how to have the same restraint that you have." And she says, "Kale's a fine mechanic, but it would be a shame if she had to befall an accident in the engine room of the Owl." And doesn't make eye contact, doesn't look to you for affirmation, just like folds that wanted poster back up, slides it into her pocket, and takes like 3 steps out the door. And almost immediately, Kale is at the door as well.
And it's just Kale by herself, right? Like the captain is headed out, or
the captain's gone. I don't know if Snuggle's come along for this ride, but the captain's gone.
I think Snuggles just around the corner, like kind of like trying to listen in.
I want to introduce a couple ideas if you guys are cool with it. So here's a couple things. The first one is Captain Nova. Part of the relationship she has with Kale and the power she has over her is she's promised to help her enroll her into a magic academy, because she knows that she has this gift, and she's been holding this over her. And by herself, she'd never be able to do this, but with her connections and with her money, she'd be able to do that. And this sign, the symbol of entry, the thing you need to present to any of these magical schools of this caliber, is an electroblade. And Kale knows that the time is right when this is presented to her. So just before this meeting, she went into her berth, and on her bunk is electroblade laying on the bed. But she takes it completely the wrong way. She sees this as a sign of dismissal, like this is the end. And she's in tears. And when she comes to the room to meet with Captain Cyrus, or not Captain yet, maybe he calls you CV because you're not a captain yet. You're kind of buddies. She shows up. She's holding this blade in her hand. And she says, she's done with me. I'm finished. I don't know what she told you, but I know I'm done. And she's holding this blade in her hand. And she says, just finish it now. And she places it in your hand.
And you see Cyrus grab hold the blade gently, and he walks over and puts it on top of the table, and takes a step back, and he looks over at Kale and kind of look back at the blade, and he picks up his dagger blade, which turns into kind of like a longer saber, and swings it straight over his head, about to destroy this thing, right? But it stops just before it does, and he turns and he says, "The next time you disobey her orders and you don't take her seriously, that's what's going to happen. She's not dismissed you yet. You still have one more chance." And he puts the blade back, picks it up, and walks over and just kind of like gently puts it back in Kale's hand and says, "Go put it back on her bunk. Remember this."
She can barely hold the weight of this thing. She just wants to crumple and fall to the floor. But she closes her eyes, tears are running down her cheeks, and she just turns with the blade in her hand and walks out.
Can I jump in? So
Please.
Sure.
When you get up and turn, you see Snargle, little old lady Snuggles, standing in the doorway with ball of yarn in one hand, a set of knitting needles in the other hand, and she walks in the room hobbles past Kale, puts herself up on the edge of Cyrus's bed, and starts knitting. That captain of ours, she has a lot to say, doesn't she?
I think just I don't know. She's probably right. I've made a lot of mistakes. I should listen to her.
Why should you listen to her? No, she's just your captain. She's not your friend.
And yet you definitely see Cyrus. You know, I think there was this kind of very, you know, taking care of business while he was talking to Kale about this situation, right? But as soon as Snargle walks in, you know, that whole thing kind of relaxes, and you see Cyrus walk over to his side bunk, and there's a little drawer, and he opens it up, pulls out a bag which, you know, has like rat leg image on it, and you know, you actually see him like he just sits down right next to Snargle, and you know, he starts feeding himself these kind of like crunchy, you know, rat legs, and he actually is feeding Snargle rat legs as Snargle is sitting there with both hands just kind of like yarning, right, knitting.
Yeah, and it's completely natural. I think Kale has like a pretty close friendship with Snargle, but I don't know if Kale knew that like Snargle was close friends with Cirrus too. Cirrus, son, you can't let her do that to you. She treats you like dirt.
You know, that speech she gave me about, no wait, the speech she gave Snargle about being replaceable. You know, she said the same thing about you, CV, behind your back.
I don't think he answers. I think what he does is you see his leg kind of reach out across the room because there's like some chair on the corner, you know, like against the wall. And he just reaches out with his legs while he's still eating these chips and sharing them with Snargle, and just kind of like pushes the chair over with his legs so that it's facing them. It would form like a little triangle, right? Like the two of them are sitting on his bunk, and it's there right in front of him, and he just looks up at you and looks down at the chair like, go ahead.
And Snargle picks up what she's knitting, and as Kale's coming to sit down, like she holds up this makings of a sweater to see if it's gonna fit her, sorry. Look, she has to go. Look, I've seen it before. They come in here with their badges. They come in here with their badges and their fancy hats and feathers, and they mess everything up. Look, you know, Vance, were you here when the Captain T-Chest? Remember Captain T-Chest? That guy was a wanker.
That was before my time.
Oh, look. You know, Captain T-Chest came to a messy end. But everyone on the ship afterwards was happier. You know.
Look, I know what you're getting at, but she deserves better than that. I'm all for a change of pace around here, but if you're suggesting what I think you are, as much as I love you, I can't be party to that.
I like the part where you said she deserves better than that, and I think both of us turn to each other and kind of look at each other and like shrug, like whatever.
Yeah, well, you're a sweet kid, Kale. You're a sweet kid.
Can I throw something in? This is another oddball thing.
This whole session.
This is about how Cyrus Vance saved me, and I think it happened in the past, like not too long ago.
Yes, flashback within a flashback within a
Yes.
flashback.
I don't know if you know this, Cyrus, but maybe Snargle knows this, that the way I ended up in the hands of Imperials was actually because of Captain Nova trading me up as a bargaining chip to the Imperials. And you getting me out of there was to make her look good to me. So basically she got everything she wanted and then double crossed the Imperials to get me back. And it got her out of trouble. But she basically put my life at jeopardy. And this was at the strong point of my relationship with her. So it would, if I were to find that out at some point, that would maybe tip me over.
I think that's great. Yeah, let's.
Sounds like the perfect time to find out.
Yeah, and maybe like what would we show you that would prove to you that that's what had happened, right? Is there an object or something?
A ship's log, a register of the transmission between her and somebody, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
Hey, Cirrus, what was your role before the mutiny?
I think I was, acting almost like maybe security / second mate type stuff.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say second mate. Maybe just like security type detail.
Cool.
In fact, this entire time, by the way, there's right when we started talking, I think there's like a little device we see up in the corner of the room, and I grab it and pull it down. And whenever anything sensitive is said, I'm actually crunching on these legs. And there's a little of a flashover that we see, Captain Nova in her quarters, and she's sitting at the table, kind of like thinking, but you can see there's like a little speaker, like she's actually like overhearing our entire conversation. But I keep crunching on things during and making sounds in this microphone so it doesn't travel, right? Maybe even put it under a pillow at a certain point.
That's great.
So good. I think that's probably maybe we'll see if we come across that valuable information later on. Look, I'm just saying, I've been happier. I've had more pleasant captains.
Can we end the scene with like Kale actually, like there's that moment, right? We offer this chair and Kale's standing like, I don't know. And maybe there's that moment where Kale, she actually like sits down on the chair, and it's almost like that starting of like, and uncertainty.
And Cirrus offers the bag of rat legs.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I'll take a seat. That's perfect.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
I want to say some. I'm sorry, Sid. I'm keen to see some more Naomi Bishop stuff too, because I know that Stephen said he had something.
Yeah, absolutely. I was absolutely.
But sorry, you get to play as well. What were you going to say?
No. It's lose game. That's fine. I'm logging off. See you guys later. No, I'm kidding. Stephen, what do you got for us?
I don't know if it's the best time to actually jump to it, just because I like the idea that like certain events start flashbacks.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's totally. I've got one that follows on from a previous one. If you would be happier with that. But otherwise,
Yeah, sure.
happy to take your lead. So what I would like to see is, and this is, I do want this to be a Naomi focus scene. That's kind of what I'm going to go to here. But this is going to be the scene where Lady Blackbird has managed to sneak away from Naomi, and we're in the back of the opera house somewhere, like down in some service entrance with steam pipes flowing past, and we see the Lady Blackbird and Uriah Flint like deep in conversation, maybe smooches. And I think the scene that, like, where I want this scene to start, the tension I want the scene to start on is
can we start the scene in the area where like the tentacle actually falls just outside the theater?
Yes. Okay. Oh,
Like,
absolutely perfect.
The tentacle hits the ground, and it's like, well, before this was destroyed, this is where they met.
It like the shot like fades out of one and into the other, and Naomi rounds the corner and sees the Lady Blackbird being intimate with this roughhousing eyes of a killer gentleman, and at the same time, Uriah Flint's crew round the corner, like the opposite corner, and we see the two like star-crossed lovers in the middle, with Naomi and the other crew across from them.
Okay. Naomi gets this like jolt of fear and adrenaline because she knows the Lady Blackbird's safety is her safety, really. And for other reasons as well. Lady Blackbird's what, like young teenager?
Yeah, I think she's like 15 or 16 or something.
Okay. So she gets this jolt of fear and adrenaline, and she immediately like just charges forward down this alley with this spear like leveled, but she's got the blunt end of the spear leveled. So she's like holding the back end basically. And she yells to Uriah, "Get away from her!" Completely disregarding like this crew that's just rounded on the other direction.
Awesome. I thought we were going to have to go a bit longer to see whether you went to like full up fight for this. Can you? Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say no. She's pretty action oriented.
She is, isn't she? All right. Can you roll some dice for us for this one? And it's going to be a bit of an interesting. I just need to pull up the actual Lady Blackbird stats because it's going to be interesting which challenge rating we use, because it's going to be. Doesn't have. It's got this example in here somewhere. Yes, Uriah Flint is a flame-blood and a master sorcerer. Not that anyone would need to fight him, though. I mean, why would that happen? This is going to be like a 5 obstacle to attack Flint through his magical defenses.
Okay.
So you're directly attacking Uriah Flint.
So actually, like the objective, she's not trying to hurt him because he's a noble, right? So what she's actually trying to do is just split them apart from one another and get in between them.
Yes. So the intent, I don't think, is to like make Uriah dead with spear, but I think it's to physically impose yourself, right? But yeah, we're gonna. Yeah. Uriah Flint has the eyes of a killer and the blood of a flame blood. So
I think as just to add action onto what is happening with young Lady Blackbird is, as soon as she would have seen Naomi, she would have grabbed Uriah Flint's hand and started trying to like run off with him as well. So that's also happening.
Nice. And you can like feel his hand starting to warm.
Yeah, she's like, "Oh, my nanny's here."
So let's see this dice thing and see what the result of it is, Naomi.
Okay. Does she have a dice pool since it's a flashback, or is it like all just combined?
I think it's all the same. If you guys want to, yeah, like, and Tomes is super happy about that. But yeah, I think it's definitely.
It's easier that way.
It's easier just to do the same stuff, and we're still telling the same story, right?
Yeah, yeah. And you're still being punished for a pissing contest that will happen in the future.
Yeah.
It's karma. It's karma. It doesn't just travel into the future. It travels backwards in time as well.
It's hammering the lesson home. Don't do stupid stuff in squid attacks. Which is applicable to everything. So I'm gonna do bodyguard, defend, restrain, I think. And threats, if I can. What do you think?
I don't want to put too fine a point on this, but from Naomi's perspective, Uriah Flint is a threat, and I would say, empirically, Uriah Flint is a threat.
Or is it that you're threatening him and your threats have
that
impact? That's how I read it, and you totally like.
Okay, so that's a mighty 6, which means I will probably fail, but that's all I've got.
Never tell me the odds. Let's see
exactly. Okay, the first one got exactly 2 successes, but I'm going to re-roll.
Oh yeah, secrets.
Yeah, which probably won't make a difference, but might. I think I got either 2 or 4. Either way, I didn't make it.
Okay. I think what we see is Uriah Flint as Lady Blackbird. You feel his hand starting to warm where you've grabbed him. His arm starts to warm, and his eyes start to like smolder with this redness behind them.
Ooh, smoldering.
Smoldering. His like breath is hot, and he throws up as Naomi like runs towards him. He throws up like this shield of flame, and it just like rebuffs Naomi immediately. She can't push through it. But in throwing up this flame, he's fine because he's a flame blood. But bits of your can you describe like your opera wear for us?
Why, I'd love to. Thank you. I think it's probably I think it's more black on black on black. It's like what blackbirds wear. But I think it's so I think it's probably like lace and like heaps of lace and stuff. And like lots of layers. But I think it's got all it's got that thing of with the light playing on it. You can see there's like patterns of birds. I actually kind of like it. You know that famous I think there's some white too. You know that famous Escher artwork with the birds flying into each other. It's like tessellated. There's like tessellated birds moving across it. Yeah.
Yeah, I do know one.
She needs some sort of awesome hat as well. I think she's got a it's kind of like a witch's hat, like the black like witch's style hat that's in fashion this season.
So as he throws up this wall of flame, it just burns your dress mostly away, leaving enough to maintain the PG rating that we've held up so far. And the fire is so intense that that pattern of birds is like seared into your skin, and like in these places that would be in every other shot covered by your clothes, it like burns this pattern, this blackbird pattern, across your chest. Can you mark the injured condition, please, Lou? And yes, I am punishing you for Naomi's failure. That's what happens with bodyguards. And when you come to Lady Blackbird, Cyrus has gone. He's like vanished into this cloud of smoke. And as Naomi leans over you to see if you're okay, the shot that we see is this Blackbird brand on Naomi's arm that looks exactly like the new welting scars that are forming on your chest.
That's awesome. I like that. But I think as she comes to, like, so you said Cyrus is gone. Did you mean Uriah?
Yeah, sorry. Too many smoldering love interests in this game.
And
No.
they're both piratey as well.
I think Naomi has this like smoldering brand on her shoulder, but she's actually like over Lady Blackbird and is like smoothing her hair back and is like kind of humming to her in this, you know, this language that she doesn't understand and whatnot. So she's actually like making sure that she's okay.
And so it's like real care. It's not like, oh, I'm going to be hurt if she's hurt. You like, we see this real emotion coming out of Naomi here.
Yeah, and so Naomi's like leather jerkin has been stripped off. She's got like an undershirt on, but you can, you know, it's a tank top, so you can see that that brand on her shoulder that's still raw and looks really painful. But just underneath that is this piece of silk that looks bedraggled and has just a few bits of stitching on it, and is sort of like hanging down from there, I think, which is the bit that she was knitting on or stitching on at the very beginning of the session.
Oh man, I love that so much.
Can she also be I was just what I thought you were going to say when you were explaining that was something that maybe we can also see on her wrist is some sort of like friendship bracelet that a young lady Blackbird made her when they first met or something like that too, like a really wonky like little bracelet or something that like that Naomi's been wearing all this time that you can see when she's got her thing off, like she's kept some crappy thing that she was given as well.
I like that. Like actually maybe Natasha was the one who first started to like sew beads onto this band, onto this silk. Like maybe Natasha like started showing.
Yeah, and she's extended it,
cool.
like built upon that gift. That's beautiful. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I think Natasha was the first one that started like putting beadwork into that silk in the first place. Like maybe Natasha as a noble was like taught to knit a little bit, and then in like very young ways she kind of like started practicing on her bodyguard's bit of silk, and that kind of started the trend. I like that.
Oh,
I have kind of a question though. I'm very curious. Like as we've seen this scene kind of unfold, like what is Lady Blackbird like? What's her reaction to Naomi trying to comfort her? Because like is it Naomi who's at fault here, or is it Uriah? Because Uriah did the thing.
I'm really curious about that too. I don't know if we get to see it yet though, because is she passed out?
I mean, we can do that now, or like it can be the scene later. I think.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. It's complicated. Probably because she's a teenager, she's going to be a total dick about it.
Sounds about right.
Maybe she even starts to, let's say that she starts to wake up and we see these like objects, like we see the brand like on Naomi, and then we see this like little like bracelet thing that we've seen in previous episodes that she's been building on, and then like then Lady Blackbird like kind of wakes up and gets this like fierce look on her face and like pushes Naomi's arm away from her. She's like, "Don't touch me! You've ruined it."
And I think when Lady Blackbird pushes her away, like her expression goes from like caring and mothering to like slightly afraid and subservient. And so as soon as she gets pushed away, she like goes down on one knee and like bends her head a little bit, but she still says very quietly, because I think there are some guards around at this point too, if she's been branded. Like I think some of the lightning has probably come out, but they're not engaged. Is that cool?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, like, this would start to, like, the flame blood thing would draw a crowd and there'd be, like, people around. But I think everyone's, like, standing back for two reasons. One is Naomi is, like, an imposing person. You'd be known for, like, murdering people that get too close to the lady. And also, like, a noble is injured, and that's something that would be holding the crowd back as well.
Yeah, so I think like
you're drawing like people around you, and it's this intimate moment with all these eyes on you.
Yeah, so I think she, she can't show disrespect in public. So she goes back and she goes down to one knee and she like bends her head. And Lady Blackbird, even at this age, you can kind of start to see a few gray hairs starting to like creep into her scalp when she like looks down like this. And she whispers under her breath so that only you can hear it. He is bad for you, small bird. He is bad for you. I've seen his type before.
Oh god. I think actually, yeah, he's like, don't, I don't want you to call me that anymore. We've talked about this. That was my, you used to call me that. Don't, I'm a grown woman now.
I think, so she responds, yes, mistress, very respectfully, but you can actually like hear the sad smile in her voice when she says it.
That is such a beautiful scene. Both of you, good refresh scene, good excuse. Both of you can refresh your pool dice or clear a condition if you want. Refresh scenes. Oh man, I'm pretty sure it's and conditions. Refresh your dice and yeah, here it is. Restore the dice pool back to your maximum pool. Remove one condition if you did something during the scene to deal with that condition. Regains the use of their secrets. Which is all pretty exciting. Now, I got really wrapped up in that, and the last hour has been awesome, and we blew through real quick. It was super cool. Everyone okay to take like an L5er and come back and finish this session off? Cool. I have no idea what this game is, by the way, and I'm absolutely in love with it. So let's go 5 minutes from now. We'll go 8:51 and just go from there. Terms. What the fuck
man.
are we doing?
I don't know.
We stopped playing Lady Blackbird like an hour ago, man.
We're making story love.
Making sweet, sweet story love.
And it was funny because I woke up and there's a part of me which is like, oh man, I don't know if I can, like my brain's still like mushy from dreams. And I'm like, like, I hope I can keep up, with just like, I couldn't even imagine jumping into an RPG at that point. But, and as soon as you started with the whole, like the beginning cutscene stuff, like it just drew me right in. Like I loved the way we played with all the beginning stuff. It was so cool.
Thanks. That wanna technique is something I'd really like to write down because that was
Oh
amazing
yeah.
to just watch.
Oh yeah, that was really clever. I think that was so cool. I'm definitely going to be stealing that. And I think it's so clever even as a GM for a game like this where you're relying so much on where everyone's going to take it and you might not have an idea or you might not want to push too many of your ideas yet, right? Like that's such a great tool to just be like, okay, well, here, let me give you this creative tool and let's see what you guys weave with it and then I'll move off of that, right? That was nice.
It does this really cool thing where it demands you tie your character into people on two ends. So you have to tie into the person before you, and then someone ties into you. And so, like, yeah, and it's the whole Kuleshov effect thing, which Tom talked about on Fear of a Black Dragon. Did you see that one? Are you familiar with the Kuleshov effect?
No, which one was that? I mean, I listened to the last episode, but I think there was parts that I probably didn't get that much.
It's just this thing from like old Russian theater, cinema that so there are two types of editing, and so the idea of montage being the film thing, not like the Rocky sports montage, but just the idea of what montage is putting shots next to each other so that they share context. Okay. And the Kuleshov effect is this idea that it was one guy doing one move or doing one facial expression, and they showed different pictures, and based on that, like if they showed food, people would say, oh look, he's obviously hungry, like you can see the hunger in his eyes. And if they showed a woman, they'd be like, oh, he's like a lecherous old man. If they showed children, they'd be like, oh, he's a proud father. It was really, really cool, and it was just the same shot. And so the Kuleshov effect basically says that a shot doesn't matter, what you see doesn't matter, it's what you put it next to grant it context.
Okay.
That's what I think that does as well. Like,
that's interesting.
Tells you so much about characters by like putting them in context with each other.
Cool. I'll have to remember the word so I sound really clever.
Yeah, there's some cool YouTube videos on it, which is great. Hey, Porridge.
Oh,
Porridge is the best. Ellen and Stephen, I think you guys both hit 5 XP as well. Do either of you want to talk about how leveling up works and how advancement works in this game?
From looking at the playbook, I was thinking that I might take a tag. Sorry, I think that's the right word. Like, a tag. So I was thinking either connections or repair or the owl.
Awesome. They're all good. They're all so great. But yeah,
connections is so like all the yarn stuff.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But
yeah, I think I'll. Is that? I wonder if that's coming under my sky sailorness or my goblinness.
Ooh, I just saw that scene both. That's cool. So connections under your goblinness would speak to like very different connections than under your sky sailorness. That's interesting. I love it.
Yeah, I think it's a goblin thing. Like I think she's been using it as a goblin trait.
Yeah, cool. Stephen, what are you thinking?
I think I'm going to take a new trait.
Dope.
Because I think it would be narratively cool. And I think I'm going to take Sky Pirate.
Ooh.
Fuck yeah.
That is so good. Arc that I see Naomi going in. I think where I want Naomi to go right now at the end of the entire thing is I want her to be like, I see how this works. I can be as brutal as you guys are. I'm going to go be a pirate now myself.
Yeah, that's dope. That's dope.
But she'll be the pirate with the heart of gold.
Well, yeah, sure. But it's like super Treasure Planet, right? You've got like all the pirates with the hearts of gold who are still like total rascals, basically.
Oh yeah, you're not good people.
Rat bags.
Yeah, like I think it's really interesting. Naomi's really protective and she's very like caring and we had the scene of her like brushing her hair and all these sorts of things. It's all wonderful and really like really intimate and very empathetic with the character. But at the same time, like she's a murderous bitch. Like she'll just kill people and get into fights and stuff.
I think one of the interesting things about her, the way I see her, is the way we're lining things up. She was a pit fighting champion like 10 years ago. So she's had some time to, to ponder kind of the bigger questions and whatnot since she used to just randomly kill people.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. I'm looking forward to really. I can't believe we're like almost halfway through this because I feel like I want to tie up all these loose ends right now and I can't. Like it's just growing and it's getting better every time it grows. So I can't be too quick to like want to tie these up.
It's like a big spaghetti mess of yarn.
Yes.
Yarn.
So is everyone okay with the fact that we basically stopped playing Lady Blackbird for like 2 hours and just did cool flashback scenes? Is everyone cool on that? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome, because I've really enjoyed them.
I think you need to do it anyway for, over 4 sessions. You're going to need to want to know these things.
I mean, yeah. Like, I feel like I feel like we had the context episode. We've got the flashback episode. And then from here, like, we can go with these characters into the future. Knowing about them.
Or we can just keep playing the Lady Blackbird flashback game. Forever.
This is what, like, Lady Blackbird Fall of Magic should look like, Lou. This game.
Totally heaps of flashbacks.
Mm-hmm.
The fall of Lady Blackbird.
I've been thinking of that, about the flashback. Anyway, we'll talk about that another time. Instead, let me have a look through my list of questions that we had in our wishes. There's another puppy. Maximum Pupperoo.
This is Nymeria.
Nymeria.
Nymeria the German Shepherd.
Oh,
That's a solid name. It makes me feel guilty for calling our dog Porridge. He needs to be more dignified than that.
That was a pretty solid dog, though.
Yeah.
I want to connect some characters. I want to see characters in the owl that haven't gotten scenes together yet, or like haven't really had time together. So what I think I would like is, I don't know. Let's start with. I'll start with a name. Let's start with. Sorry, I said some pretty good connections in there. Yeah, let's go with Kale. Kale, who have you not like had a scene with that you want to explore the relationship with in the cramped quarters of the owl?
In the present or in the past?
Well, this will be in the present because the cramped quarters of the owl at the moment are hurtling towards the ground, so it's probably not the best place to have a relationship.
Yeah, I think the one that makes the one that's most compelling right now would be with the captain.
With Nova or with Cyrus?
Cyrus Vance.
Okay, yeah. Cool.
I spent some time with him in the past, but not in the present.
Interesting.
Yeah, barely touched the surface.
Cool. All right, so I'm going to write Cyrus and Kale past, and I think there's something about, actually, I've got a really interesting question about that. And Cyrus's mechanical arm / parts. I want to find out more about that as well. And so, Snargle, have you got a character you haven't had a scene with that you're compelling relationship? And by the way, guys, no is a valid answer if you don't really have anything.
I want to see how Snargle is influencing Naomi.
Ooh, now that's interesting. That's interesting because you guys are both other. and
Yeah.
that would be very cool to see.
Plus, it seems like we're starting to find out that Snargle's the one who really runs shit on the ship.
yeah, it's like
Pulling
Snuggles
all
one.
my
The
yarns.
puppet strings.
Yeah.
The yarn strings.
And Lady Blackbird, is there someone compelling you to have a scene at this point?
I just want to do more. I've got one of the things that's been fun so far is I'd had totally different ideas of where I was going with Uriah Flint, and I'm like, damn it, they're saying all this shit, and then I'm just like, no, just love it, just enjoy it. And so I'm interested to see like more Uriah. Like I've got an idea, but I still want to see how the romance was born, why she's heading there.
So I think
that.
a Lady Blackbird and Uriah scene would be a really good one as well. So I think I want to start with the Naomi and Snuggle scene here, because that's triggering something really interesting in me, which is I want to see. I think I'd like a scene specifically that like looks at how different Naomi is and like talks a bit more about her alienness. Does that fit in with something that you all want to talk about? Or should I not be hard framing this as much and just be like putting you in there and be like, lol, go?
I'd like to see more about Naomi and where she's from.
The pressure's on.
Yeah. So can we actually have it with, because you guys share this knitting thing, right? Or this like this crocheting thing. Can we have a scene where Naomi is doing this like this bead weaving and Snuggle comes upon that?
Yeah, I think Naomi has decided that she wants to be in the galley all the time. Like that's her part of the ship. And it's because she likes the vibe there. Sorry, that's my dog making weird noises. She likes the vibe in that part of the ship, like as people walk through, and she likes being able to hear the ship from there. So she's always kind of like right outside Natasha's door on the in the galley. So yeah.
I like how there's also some ambiguity as to whether or not there's even a room for you.
Yeah.
Like there probably isn't, right?
Yeah, there probably isn't. I could easily see her just like, she doesn't sleep in the same room as Lady Blackbird, not anymore.
You totally sleep outside her door, right?
Yeah.
That's probably where you slept all through her upbringing.
Yeah. I think she probably that'd be a cool thing to, yeah, like I think she probably like basically slings a hammock right outside Lady Blackbird's door and just sleeps right there, so that mainly so Cyrus can't get in her view. She doesn't know about the teleporting.
So I think I'd like Snuggle would like to be moving really quietly through the ship. I think it's lights out time. I think it's, in terms of ship time, I think it's like really early in the morning, and Snuggle knows the ship so well that she knows all the metal plates that squeak, and she knows where to step on them to not make noise. And she's sneaking to the galley to raid the food stores. It's like she's got a hankering for some chocolate covered space roaches, and as she is tiptoeing through the galley, I think she sees Naomi, probably like almost asleep, but not, but half asleep, and maybe weaving some beads onto this piece of work. And she looks over. What is that craft that you're doing? I'm not familiar with that technique.
And like Naomi starts to like clutch it to her chest and like hide it for a moment, and then she realizes that it's just Snargle coming through. So she like kind of very cautiously, yeah, just Snargle. So, i.e., someone that can't beat her. So she like very cautiously sort of like holds out this piece of work, and she says, "It's not very good. I've been working on it for years."
She comes right up close, adjusts her glasses, and she's like, "Oh, this is very, very detailed. And you've improved much, young woman. You've improved much. Where did you learn this?"
My daughter taught me.
Oh, you've got a daughter?
Of sorts. Because remember, out of character, remember Naomi or Natasha is actually the one that taught her how to do this.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
when you look at this thing, you see that like in the beginning, when it's very crude, it's images of a little girl with like light skin in the beadwork. But then as the beadwork gets more expansive, you see like more purple people, and they're all the same age as that first little girl.
Yeah. Wow. So, yeah, tell me about your daughter. Where is she?
Naomi kind of smiles sadly and says, "I don't know. I haven't seen her in many years."
Oh, that's too sad. I myself have half a dozen litters. Yeah, some of them they don't talk to me anymore, but that's because they didn't like half of the fathers. So who
Snargle,
yeah?
do you think they still love you, even though you haven't talked to them in a long time?
Oh, they still love me. I still get presents whenever I'm on my home planet. I go back to my old shack, and the mailbox is always full. That's the good thing about having many litters, is that you always get presents. Someone at least remembers your birthday.
I never had a mailbox.
Really? Well, bills come in those mailboxes too, you know. Where were you before we picked you up? What's your story, miss?
Fighting, always fighting.
Yeah, I can see that. You bring trouble with you. I heard through the vents a little argy-bargy with the old captain. What's going on there?
He doesn't know what's best for him yet. He'll learn. They've all learned.
Look, yeah, our captain, you know, not the brightest runt in the litter, but you know, he's got a good heart. What are you afraid of?
I'm sure he does have a good heart. And she laughs. I just hope I don't have to show it to him.
Oh, you are a bruiser. So do you keep in touch with any of the mates that you've had over time?
No, I've not really been allowed.
Allowed? Who's like, look at the size of your bloody arms. Who's gonna tell you what to do?
Well, we all have obligations and duties. I'm sure you do as well.
No. No,
None.
I don't.
None.
No. Well, the only duty that I have is to my owl.
And what does your owl have you do?
fly her straight and patch her up every now and then and fuel her up and clean the windscreen.
I think Naomi kind of like sits up a little bit more and she says, and what does that feel like? What does it feel like to just fly through the blue with no responsibilities?
I don't have anything for comparison. What would you want to fly on this ship with old Snargle and, you know, see the deep blue and knit our little craft together?
She sort of slumps back into her hammock and she says, duties and responsibilities, you remember.
Yeah. And again, you know, if you stay on this ship with me, we have a captain, but, you know, captains come and go. But if you look after the owl looks after you.
Who looks after you, Snargle?
The owl. Always the owl. My home, my family, my food provider. Have you had those chocolate-covered rats? I just snuck some out of the pantry. They're real good.
I think so. I want to like close the scene so other people can do theirs, but I think like if you're cool with it, we can close the scene like with Naomi like suspiciously sniffing at these chocolate-covered rats and like looking at her.
Perfect.
Oh, that's adorable. You guys are phenomenal. I really like how much heart came out of that. Does anyone have any questions after that scene that they want to put forward?
I wouldn't mind perhaps Lady Blackbird coming up in on the end of the scene and wrecking it by like being like Naomi, I've been looking for you. It's my hair needs unbraiding, and just walking off towards her.
Just like open the door, say it, then like shut the door again.
And I think so. Naomi is like looking at Snargle and she hands back the chocolate-covered rat and she sighs and says, duties and responsibilities. And then she goes in the room.
And Snuggle just chuckles and hobbles away.
That's Lou, you're the worst. Just over and over again, man. So Cyrus, we saw in the first scene a mechanical arm. And I think Cyrus that you probably lost that arm. I would assume, you can tell me if I'm wrong, in the rescue of Kale from this like Imperial cruiser prison thing, right?
Right.
So can we talk about that? Can we like I want to sort of see this scene, and I think I'm not sure where the best place to start it is. So, Ari, Kale, you're in this one as well.
Yeah.
This is you've been captured, and you've been turned over by Captain Nova, and Cyrus, I think against orders, has like come to rescue you.
Yeah. I had this idea that this was another Imperial ship, maybe not quite as big as the one when we started off.
Yeah, I think Hand of Sorrow is like a flagship. I think a lot of other things would be smaller, very similar in design, but smaller.
Yeah, so I had a ship name idea. The Jaws of Asilium is the name of this ship, and it's a smaller, sleeker vessel. That's kind of like, a destroyer type ship,
Mm-hmm.
And they needed my expertise on that ship. That's why I was traded over.
Right.
but I'm not cooperating.
Yeah, so I think the scene is like they need you to. There's like so they're in orbit around. How long ago are we going to do this? They're in orbit around this small like um, space station that's been established off world somewhere near like Haven,
Mhm.
and it's just like probably got a lot of pirates going on with it and stuff like that. And they have the destroyer there because their plan is to basically blow this thing up. But they need an engineer familiar with the shields of this space station. And they want you to basically calibrate their weapons so that it will puncture this shield and like destroy the space station.
Mhm, mhm.
And so I think the scene begins with that, with like you probably like cuffed with these like with this like electronic collar and like ankle braces, and they as they get to where the console is, or actually no, to be right up to the weapon itself, there's like a console on the side of the weapon where it juts out of the skin of this destroyer. And as they get to it, they push a button and your ankles just like lock to the floor. Like they just feel super heavy. You can't move your feet. And one of them pushes you in the back with this like imperial blade that's like a short or a long dagger. And if they push a button, it turns into a big sword. He pushes you in the back with it and like hunches you over the console. And he says, "You're only valuable to us for the information you hold, Arkham. If you choose not to pass it over to us, well, we got no use for you."
I'm not giving you the codes.
And one of them, like, leans forward, and he goes, and he like gets this deep smile on his face, and he goes, "Good. I'd hate you to cooperate." And the other one like puts a hand on his shoulder, and he says, "Quigley, don't let her bait you. She's trying to pull you into a fight." He says, "Just and he pushes a button in his hand, and like a shock goes through your body from the collar. It's just a light one, just like a tingle, just to let you know." And Quigley like smiles again, a little bit restrained, and says, "We'll let you work, Arkham, and then we'll beat the impudence out of you."
It's the same Quigley that we meet later, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Nice touch. Yes, she has friends down here on this planet. She's done jobs with people on the station, rather, right? She's not going to kill these people. There's no way. But she might lead them on. So she said she might wait for another jolt or two, and then she's gonna pretend to cooperate.
Yeah,
And
sure.
at that point, she's pretending like she's beaten down, and she punches in the code, but it's this ASCII code, and if you look at it, it says Imperial Rat Bag.
Oh man. And Cyrus, from where you are on this ship, you hear this like weapon charge, and it fires off, and the like electric recoil through the ship like shimmers and causes lights to explode elsewhere in the ship. And as you like look out one of the windows, you see this enormous bolt glance off a shield of the space station. And Kale, they hit the button, and like it just the shock is so heavy that it would bring you to your knees. But as your knees like start to fail, the ones in your ankle like straighten your legs up so that you're forced to stand and take the volume of this shock. Do you want to
Oh, that's painful.
mark the injured condition for us?
Yes, sure.
And oh yeah, I'm a monster, Ellen. And Cyrus, like, where do you come into this room? Where do you see, like, what does it look like when we see you first lay eyes on Kale?
I want to say there's it's a good question. There's a part of me which, like at this point, I don't think, like I'm not on the run, right? Is what I'm thinking. Like I'm actually working for the Imperials. How far back is this? This is like years, right? What do you think? Or is this like this is recent when we just like how are you envisioning this, like where this sits in the timeline?
I don't think we've ever established where this falls in the timeline because we haven't talked about whether you had your mechanical arms or not elsewhere. But I think Kale is definitely working point. So that's probably the only, like, this is Nova has sold Kale off to the Imperials. And is this when you join the ship? Is this like the thing that inspires you to join the ship? To join the Owl, sorry?
Let's say yes. So I think what we're going to see here, I don't think, like you see me looking out the window, right? And that glancing bolt, but it pans back and you see that I'm in a jail cell. Like there's bars, right? So I don't think like I'm at this point, I'm not an Imperial soldier, right? I'm an Imperial prisoner, right? And, in fact, we see like two guards walk by and one of them like, finishes like some chicken leg or maybe it's a rat leg or something. And, like chucks it into my cell and it's, just like the bone is left or whatever. And the other guy's like, yeah, I guess that's his last meal, and, so they're kind of like implying that I'm about to get executed or something. And I'm wondering if maybe Kale will be thrown into the cell with me or like thereabouts. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe they're using him and they want to temporarily, kind of like either scare some shit into him or something like that. So like he won't be,
I think they bring him back and say to Kale, they're like, you're lucky that killing prisoners is against Imperial code, but there's someone on this ship that doesn't follow the Imperial code, and they throw him into the cell with you, and they like toss a it's just like a piece of glass on the floor, and they say, you can earn your freedom, Cyrus.
Nice, I love it. And I want to say they're not even they're not even watching, right? Like they just kind of like close the whatever part of the cell that they could look in because they don't want to be complicit, right? Exactly. So they walk off, and they're just gonna walk back here and expect stuff. And I definitely, I'm the first, I grab that piece of glass, right? Because I don't know who this person is, and I don't know if he's going to try to grab that glass either, right? So I'm grab that glass and I'm holding it in my hand, but I'm not going for him. I'm just watching him, like, and I probably, I'll be like, and who are you?
Name's Kale. What are you in for? And I kind of back away from him just a little bit, just to get a little space and my eyes on that shard of glass.
That's none of your business. But you must be in for something bad if they threw you in here with me.
No, I'm just unlucky.
Huh. That's interesting. I'd say that's probably true. And I'm starting to walk toward you with this piece of glass in my hand.
You should be careful playing with that. You could hurt yourself.
And there's like a little half smile, and I kind of lean down and almost in a friendly way, right? I'm like on just kind of crouched in front of you, and I'm holding this piece of glass in my hand, but it's kind of like under my chin, like, almost like half forgotten, right? And I'm looking at you, and I'm like, you don't seem particularly afeared.
Uh, that is the perfect shape for picking a lock. You don't think they're going to let you out when, you kill me, do you? Really think the Imperials are going to do that?
No, they're going to kill me regardless. I know that.
I'll tell you what. You let me open this lock with that, and I might have some work for you.
And I'm pacing the cell for a second, like considering the words. And I look down at the glass, and I look over at you, and I kind of flip it up in the air, and you see it fly up, and I grab it by the point, right? And then I hand it over to you, and just stand back. Watch what you do.
Yeah, and I wink at him, and I go to work on the lock and see if I can get it open.
Build that pool, baby. You gotta meet the 4.
Okay, 4.
Because you don't have the right tools, right? So 4 feels good to me.
Okay, so let's see. Burglar. That's 1.
Mm-hmm.
Do I need to be quiet for this so I don't alert the guards?
Do you want to be quiet for this?
Yeah, I'm going to try to keep it nice and quiet.
I would recommend being quiet.
So how does the help mechanic work again?
You give him one of your pool dice.
Okay. I have 1 pool die.
Great.
So I'd like to give it to him, and maybe I'm using any of my sneak smuggler type skills. Mm-hmm. Like, if he's about to do something noisy, I might be like, oh, hold up, and like I know the time, like yep. I'm like when the guards walk by.
Yeah, there's definitely a scene of you guys like picking the lock, and then as guards walk by, he's like got you up against the thing with the glass to your throat, and then it's like back to the lock.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got burglar, quiet, dexterous, locks, and then a helper. That's 4, and I'm going to throw in 4 of my own dice.
Okay.
In my pool. Right, so that puts me at 8.
Yep. So 8. Does that include the 1 for helping?
Yes.
Cool. All right.
Yeah, is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it's 8 total.
Cool. All right.
Hopefully this roll comes through.
Buckle your swatches, ladies and gents.
What did I get?
Swash your buckles.
Swash your buckles right up.
I can't tell which ones are 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it looks like I didn't make it. Looks like I got
6 passes.
Got 6.
Oh, really?
Wait, isn't it two passes and 6 misses?
How many dice did you roll?
8, right? It's like the 8
that
that are up there.
Okay.
I rolled bad.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
It's kind of cool because don't we kind of want to see want to see Cyrus helping you out more? Is that what we were hoping to see? So it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Guys.
Now I'm going to say this, Cyrus. You have a secret of leadership. If you would like to use that.
Oh yeah, that's the reroll, right?
Yeah, it is.
Oh yeah, let's do that. I think there's a desperation, right? Like maybe even like part of the glass breaks, and you're like, I don't know, like I haven't picked one of these kind of Imperial locks before or something like that. And, I think I just, you're kind of sweating, and I just give you, some of that soldier, captain type talk, like, and I even use that word again, right? I'm like, no, soldier, you've got this, buck down and and like all that kind of stuff, and just get you back into it.
That's actually a great idea. Maybe you inspire me to use that rat bone to add that like two pieces, glass and rat bone
It would
together.
be kind
Yeah.
of cool if Kale like accidentally called him captain when he called him a soldier like that as well. He's like, yes, captain.
Yeah. Aye, aye, Captain. Okay, so just re-roll the whole thing again.
Yep. Roll them
Okay.
8s again.
All right. Yes, just got it. 4.
Hey.
That was the trick. That was the trick. Trick of
That was the
leadership.
trick. So,
Can we do this thing? And I don't know if you have an idea, Sid, for
Mate,
like where.
I don't
Okay.
have ideas.
So check this out. We hear the click, and then the next thing we see is we're like running down a hallway. There's guards shooting at us from somewhere. We're like sliding around a corner and slamming into the wall. And you see some more pings behind us, right, as gunshots go off, and and Kale, I think, is like, I think it's this way because he knows, some ship is here, right? And so I'm grabbing you and we're running, and I think we turn a corner and we see somebody with a blaster, and he obviously knows me, whoever this person is, right? And he's like, oh, I've been waiting for this. And you see a shot, and it takes my arm off, right? Like my arm just like flies off, right, or disintegrates, right? Like it's like kind of like a ray or something, right? And I kind of get down on the ground, like I'm on my knees for a minute, maybe. Kale, do you already do some magic stuff?
Yeah. I can do a little bit. I was just
I
thinking
mean,
about that.
I want to say, like, not even something significant. It's more like maybe something where you'd like knock this person over on their side or something, right? Temporarily. I don't know if that requires a roll, Sid.
No, I think I know kind of the pace of this. I love it. Like, let's just keep it rolling.
So you knock this person over, and maybe you kind of help me up for a second, and I'm like a little bit in shock for a moment as you're helping me along. But then, we see more guards chasing us, and before long, like there's a little flash cut, and it's me dragging your like unconscious body. So like I have one arm, right, and I'm dragging your body like this last, hallway into some airlock thing. And again, we see one or two shots, and I hit some button, and the airlock closes, and that's kind of like us escaping, right?
I love it. Great.
That is so good. Steven's right. A real soldier would have used his own arm as a weapon.
It was disintegrated.
Yeah, well, that's
no excuses, right?
That's on you. That's phenomenal. I actually love that escape scene so much. Both of you guys take a refresh scene for it. Give yourself your full pool dice, and clear a condition if you'd like, or do something else that's interesting to you. Reuse secrets. That's right. Couldn't remember the other one. Oh, that was so good.
So we have a choice, so we can refresh our pool or remove a condition.
You can remove a condition if you do something in it that that fictionally would lead to the removal of the condition, which probably doesn't sound like that's what happened. But you refresh your pool dice, and if you're fictionally governed towards removing the condition, you remove it.
I'll just refresh my pool.
Cool.
Using a key gives you an XP?
Not to my knowledge.
No.
So sorry, key. Using a secret doesn't. Using a key does.
Yeah, using a secret doesn't. Okay, cool. That's what I was checking. Cool.
Yeah, like for example, key. Cyrus has got Kale's got a really cool key of fraternity about like show how deep your bond is. That's super big.
Yeah, I hit that. Yeah.
Oh,
Do I get 2 for doing it in danger?
Oh yeah, and you did it in danger. We lost Cyrus's arm.
Yeah, I'll take 2 for that.
Lou, you said to me that you had 9:30. Toma's got to get to sleep. I just want to play this game all the time.
I reckon we need to see the roll for for the parachute.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that. Then we'll quickly Stars and Wishes out. And Lou, I promise you, I've got your scene with Uriah written down. Think on that.
Cool.
You'll get
Yeah,
it.
that's cool.
All right. Ellen.
That'd be such a great way to start the next episode, is just like all this crazy shit and crash. And then it's just like this old flashback scene of.
Yeah. Soul Romeo and Juliet.
So I
awesome.
really dig cold opens of like, the cold open is always disconnected from like the rest of the story, and it's a great scene to do like that Romeo and Juliet shit, which is so great. Ellen, I promised you that you could roll eventually.
Oh yeah. Fine.
What are you doing to save the owl as it plummets into? Actually, are you saving the owl or just yourself?
No, the owl, like this.
Great.
This massive piece of fabric and yarn parachute is designed for the owl.
Now, I am going to say I want to set a really, really high. This is like a cool, like high stakes thing, right?
Yeah.
So I want to set like a really, really high difficulty for this.
Look, you're the boss.
But I don't want it to be like out of reach for you, so that you like don't feel tension when you roll it. So let's look at what you've got here. So Snuggle, you've got your 7 dice pool, right? So I'm not worried too much.
Use all of it.
Of course. So I reckon you're going to go for. Let me have a look at what the difficulty things are. Unless anyone wants to like shout out what they think the difficulty
5.
is. I'm feeling 5 extreme.
All right. Yep.
Yep.
I'll cop that. Thanks,
Yeah.
Luke.
He's your boy.
I don't know. Sometimes I wonder. Now, I think I'm going to use my. Okay, so
Pilot.
daring, steady, atmospherics. Yeah, and my 7.
And your 7. So you've
So
got.
what about maneuvering?
I would give you tricky flying, but probably not maneuvering.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say it. But thanks for trying to get back that doozy.
What
Okay,
about
yep.
maps?
Where we're going, we don't need maps. All right, so pilot, daring, steady, atmospherics,
And tricky flying.
and tricky flying. 5, 1 for trying. 6,
Ooh.
7 pool dice.
Uh,
What are you trying to hit? 5 on.
yeah,
5
so I
on
got
13?
13.
Okay.
So 13.
By the way, I want to set stakes here for everyone. If you fuck this up, I'm destroying the owl.
Yes. Do it.
All right, here we go.
That's some serious goblin stakes right there.
Oh no, I got 4.
We smashed the owl.
Oh!
Oh god.
Hang on. Has anyone ever got anything? Seriously.
How many do you need? 1 more? Can I have helped in like a retcon help and see if
Oh,
1 extra dice?
Naomi could have helped with her last bit of crafting thrown out the window.
If only Cyrus wasn't trying to kill her in his quarters.
I could help with
Jesus.
the smallest amount of magic, and you could like some sort of dome of like maybe it's the maybe it's like a bit of a cone of silence around to block out the screams of the like falling space squid and shit.
Mm-hmm. All right. I like it.
Is that okay? Just to have 1 dice of like it's 50.
You get 1. It's 50-50.
All right, I'm
It's
going to
50-50.
roll that 1 dice now.
I'm happy with it either way, but I think the stakes are going to change on this one, where it's going to be like the owl is destroyed or the owl is like pretty heavily damaged. Like I don't think you're going to really save it. It's going to need some.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Yeah, we got it. We got the
You got
one.
it? Okay.
Yeah.
So the owl's
Brilliant.
fucked up.
The owl's fucked up.
That's all right.
We will see what happens to the owl in a week.
Do we have the budget for an explosion when we hit the ground, or?
Yeah, but that's why we need to do it at the start. That's why we had to do like the flashbacks thing and like the bottle
Yeah.
episode now, because actually the third episode will just be in one room, you guys getting interrogated, because we'll have no budget after the explosion. Screech of the Owl, Ari, that's so good. Okay, let's take 1 minute, D-roll, come back. We'll do a debrief. Tomes, if you want to bail, you're more than welcome to.
I'll stick around for a few minutes.
Okay, we'll go really quick through Wishes and Stars, I think. But we'll D-roll, come back, debrief. I'm really excited. I'll speak to you in a minute. Stephen.
I've jacked your sheet up.
That's cool. My sheet's jacked. Which part did you jack up?
Oh, I was just trying to insert. What is it?
Oh yeah.
The new thing?
Mess it up as much as you want, because we got a week to fix it and stuff. It doesn't need to be playable for a week. Oh my god. I am like emotionally exhausted after that, and I did nothing.
That was a good session.
You did all the things, Sid.
No, it was tremendous. I loved it.
Oh my god, no! The beginning part was just insane. We talked about it during the break. Like just that intro, I think, just like got everyone boom, just straight into the mix. That was so good.
Yeah, it worked.
Ellen, I was really happy with your suggestion that we just did like this whole thing as flashbacks. Like this entire episode is contained within like 2 minutes of the owl falling through the sky.
Yeah, it's so good for like the concept of like time going backwards and forwards for all of this to happen in such a short period of time. Yeah, I am great. But also, you're a jerk for putting everyone in jail and putting everyone's lives at risk. Just saying.
Dog, all I did was I just went through the wishes that you guys said last week and just played out those scenes. I did nothing off my own back today. It was great. All right, so let's do this quickly so that we can skedaddle Tomes out of here. He deserves it. Because you guys, you're all so good. I'm going to start Stars and Wishes this time because I went last time. So Stars and Wishes, starting with Stars, my star is to, I think I'm going to give my star to Ellen for that idea of like, no, let's just play this all out as like, and you let me like keep offering it to you and taking it away, which is really cool. And I think that this was a really magical session for me. As someone who likes my mechanics to drive my games, this felt so out of control and so like GM-less, full of magic-y, and that's great. And it was just like a list of prompts, and it was great fun. But it felt like I was just flying seat in my pants the whole time. I had no idea what I was doing. And Ellen, you really helped me by like feeding into that and being collaborative with that. So thank you.
I think Tomes kind of said though, you that mechanic that you used at the start of the long shot totally like gave us all the permission to steer the camera around and drive the game and stuff. So it was definitely at least like that leading by example of how you wanted us to play. I think that's why it turned into that kind of session. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
He's saying it's your fault.
It's my fault. Yeah, I was like halfway through it, I was like, I don't know whether he's saying I did good or did bad.
That's just because of my robot voice. If I had a normal voice, you would have known that I was that being complimentary.
If you were singing it to me,
Yeah.
I'd know how you feel.
Totally.
All right. Let's go via the sheet for me this time because that's a different order. Stephen, you're next on stars. What's your star?
Starts with like amazing or some amazing thing that we saw, right?
Yeah, something you want to congratulate, reward someone for.
They're like a sticker that you're putting on someone's shirt.
Yep, it's a dinosaur that says "Great job" underneath it.
So not to exclude anyone, I guess, but I really liked that scene with Cyrus, Kale, and Snargle when they were like sitting on the bed and sharing the chips around. I just thought that was like an awesome, like team building-y, relationship establishing-y kind of scene, especially when Cyrus started like feeding Snargle the rat legs. I thought that was just awesome. And then like at the end when they were like offering them to Kale, I thought that was like a really nice touch. That was just really well done.
And what I love about it is that it was like all coached in the knowledge that it's like building up to a mutiny. Like it was this dramatic irony thing. Oh, super cool. Great star. Absolutely great star.
Oh, so I'm next there.
Yep, you're next.
Actually, so just to jump back to that, so I'm gonna say Stephen and Naomi, like I just really dug that. Like I love the way she's coming out as a character, like the little touching parts of both that I think the one that comes out to me is the scene with Lady Blackbird and and Uriah Flint, but like kind of the way every time she comes into a scene and the way she's talking. Oh my God, the one with Snargle, like that too. Like both of those scenes, just like the way Naomi like appears to be very introspective and kind of relating things. Like I think every time Snargle was asking a question, like the questions that would come out would just give you this insight into her, right? Like, oh, what does that feel like? Like, do you think that they still love you kind of thing, like about the kids? And like you can just see like it's all paralleled into who this character is and what she cares about. I just love that.
I almost started crying when I said that. I don't know if you can tell. I've been planning to like introduce your daughter all week, but I asked that question and I was like, oh, that made me feel bad.
Yeah, it was so good. Like I love those scenes.
Yeah, like all through I've been going, oh my God, she's so beautiful. She's such like a mom. And yeah, I was just like wanting to know. And you're killing us.
Yeah, just the depth that you guys give to your characters and Naomi especially, like it's so easy to play her as just the cutter, right? Like just jump in and beat the shit out of people. And you just play with so much heart. It's amazing. Ari, you're next on my list.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Captain Vance, Cyrus Vance. You know, I went through the first session with sort of a blank slate between me and the captain. Had no idea where this was going to go, and he just like made a very credible not captain leading up to becoming a captain. And that scene on the jaws of Icilium, he really that moment when he showed his leadership, that he really sold it really well to me. That was awesome. Yeah, that escape was great too. Like all that's well done.
Yeah, I loved how like I felt like you really understood Tomes my like intent for pacing and stuff like that, where you're like, no, let's just jump ahead to like when we're running and being shot at. And I was like, oh, you get it. Made me very happy. Yeah, Stephen, you're right. Very good on genre space opera. Ellen, you're next.
Yeah, this isn't favoritism, but my star goes to Luke because he was such an impetuous teenage girl. And I've not like Luke's role playing has leveled up a bit through this series, I think, and it's been really, really fun to watch him be tested. Because he's really great with that comedy stuff, and But you don't often get to see him play characters that he wouldn't personally like as well. And so I think, yeah,
we get to see him be the worst.
Yeah.
You're the worst.
Yeah, we hate you, Luke.
But like the worst in this really empathy-filled way, right? Like you can totally get what she's about, and you don't hate her for it. Oh,
yeah. It's not her fault. It's not her fault at all. But Jesus.
But Jesus. And speaking of Jesus, Lou, what are your stars?
Well, this is awkward because I'm giving my star also to myself. No, just because like I've mentioned it earlier with the like I had all these ideas about where I saw Lady Blackbird and Uriah Flint and stuff happening, and it was like it's that thing when you're in a conversation and you think of something like super awesome that you really want to say, but then the moment to like say it is like slowly moving further and further away, and there's this point where you can like I'm giving myself a star because it's a thing that I've learned as I've been growing up lately about having good conversations and letting go of that earlier on and just listening to what the person you're actually talking to is like saying. Do you know what I mean? Instead of just thinking what your own ideas are, like stop and engage and like respond and reflect what other people are saying more. So it was just nice for me to see that grown-up skill emerging in game as well, and not getting too stuck on where I thought it should be going and just rolling with it. And yeah, anyway, 1 star for me.
Like, I would probably be in debt to my parents.
Sorry, I wasn't listening to that. I was just thinking about what I was going to say.
I thought you had that far away look in your eyes.
Man, I live that far away look. It's just me dreaming of playing games with you again. I totally agree and echo all of those stars. They are all so spot on. Mr. Quaid, you are next. We're going reverse order, and you're giving us a wish.
Wishes is to see more of the Naomi and Natasha stuff. That's really compelling for me, and I love where that's going. It's hard for me to like be in that as well, so I get what you were saying with the emotional side of it. That storyline, it's quite like complex. I mean, in terms of like there's slavery and love involved, and loyalty and family and all of this, you know, wishes for freedom and, you know, privilege and all of these other things going on. So it's like pretty like actually quite tense and like hard to be in, which is great in a space opera to like have all of that stuff going on. Yeah, anyway, that's my wish. And to see Lady Blackbird and Uriah Flint's that backstory too is my other selfish wish.
Yeah, I can't echo that enough. That scene of like Naomi cradling Lady Blackbird is such a powerful thing, because it is caring, and like they're not friends. She owns her. It's super. Oh God, crazy. Ellen, wishes, please.
I really dug the scene setting and the props that we used. It really took me onto the owl, like the Vance's wardrobe scene, the binoculars at the opera, like there was just all these things through the session that really put you there, and I really want to see everyone doing more of that. Well, I don't know how much more you could actually do, but keep doing it because it's really good.
That's awesome. I loved that as well. Ari, I think you are next with a wish.
Yeah, can I have multiple wishes?
I mean, you can. The only rule is you're not allowed to say, "My wish is to play with you some more."
No, I'm not going to do that. Actually, the one I was going to say is I'd like to see the pacing of session 1 and session 2 combined at some point. Like, because I really like the digging into the backstory stuff, and I like the speed and like intensity of the first one. I'd love to see both in one session, see how they play out. But besides that, I think Naomi Bishop, I'd like to see do some scenes with her in the present after the crash. I don't think I've had any scenes with her yet. I was going to do one this session, but we were kind of doing flashbacks, so I didn't want to mess with that. And the fate of Captain Nova also. I'd love to see what happens to her ultimately. That's the big one.
I mean, I know what happens ultimately, but I want to see the moment where you guys go from like, we're not really happy with her to like, let's fucking undo this.
Yeah.
Times go.
All right, so that's perfect because I think I'm going to jump onto that bandwagon. So I love that the first episode was what it was, and I love that the second episode, like we did like this crazy flashback weirdness, which was awesome. I'm kind of wondering if you guys are on board with the third episode, like the flashbacks are really only or like I don't need it to be restricted, but I kind of like the idea of the flashbacks are really just about Uriah Flint and Lady Blackbird, like focused around that. And everything else is kind of like about us now, right? Like dealing with this aftermath and moving forward. And that kind of to Ari's point there, like, establishing some of the relationships we haven't seen yet, right? Like I haven't really been in a scene with Lady Blackbird, for example, not much, right? Not interacting so much. And so like all these scenes where the characters we haven't seen interact, like seeing them interact and like seeing how that, kind of, I don't know what the word, like develops the story around this group versus, just the history of subsets of the group, right?
Yeah, totally agree. I think we've got heaps of context now and we can push forward. But I love the idea of like, the Uriah, Lady BB stuff. We'll see. Stephen, wish away.
Tom's actually stole mine. So I was going to say, that we've had these two kind of disparate groups, and it'd be nice to see those groups like come together. And I think what would be good too is like more total group scenes. We've had like subsets of people doing various things. I think like that's why I really like that. What do you call it? A oneer?
Yeah, oneer is a shot that doesn't cut for a long period of time.
Yeah, I call it long shots.
A long shot is like a geographical term about like where you are reference the subject. It's
cool. I think I've seen kind of combinations of them. Anyway, sorry.
No, it's fun. But like I think the only time we've really seen all five get together in one space and interact is that like brief time they were in the mess together, like after the oneer. So I think that'd be cool to see. And I also just have like this image in my head of for some reason I'm like really drawn to the Top Gun on the Owl. I think it'd be cool to have like a space fight scene between, like the Millennium Falcon scenes where there's like the TIE fighters and they're like using the guns to fend off the TIE fighters and whatnot. I think that would be a cool, even though the Owl is now trashed on a planet. But I just think that would be a cool, like everybody to their stations. We're all working together now, kind of a scene, something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I will probably. I think I want to have a think about, and I want you all to have a think about whether you want to do like the owl and getting it repaired and all that sort of stuff, or whether we kind of just want to be like, okay, we cut forward, the owl's been fixed up, but like we can talk about what it cost you and what's been left out and stuff like that, so that we can kind of get moving into that shooty stuff and like get you off this planet, get you moving forward again. I don't know. We'll have a think about it. Cool.
I like the idea of the like if we do that, something like you framed it, like what have we lost to get us there, like where we can kind of see what each you know what I mean? Something like short and sweet like that sounds really cool.
Yeah, so like a 30-second vignette montage thing of like people around the city giving up stuff or doing stuff to like, you know, Kale going in through a window to steal something, or like, and that might be like the intro montage thing. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see when we get there. Now, this is really interesting. We ticked off almost every one of the wishes from the first thing. The only thing I would like to see is we've got this real theme of like slavery and ownership and all that sort of stuff coming through. That's been really interesting. And I really want to see like, so Snargle's a really interesting character because she seems to be the only one that's like not obligated to someone, but she's like tied to the owl in this very personal way. And I kind of want to see like, I don't know, I kind of want to explore that. I want to see like what are Snargle's limitations? You know what I mean? Especially being like a goblin who are like, I guess I've kind of been presenting them as like second-class citizenry sort of thing. Like they're an asset, they're a tool that comes with a ship, which is such a like a cool thing for Snargle to fight against. And I loved seeing Kale stand up against that shit. Like seeing someone stand up against a bully feels good, right? That was really awesome, and I'd love to kind of see more about that side of Snargle, I guess.
So you want to break Snargle?
Not break at all. Just challenge.
Hey, maybe a
maybe,
little.
maybe a little.
Correct.
Lou will do it if I don't. So
I feel like I need about like 12 episodes of this to like go through the arc of like making like Lady Blackbird lose her nobility and give heaps of shit up and like all of that kind of stuff. There's like so much shit to get rid of in Lady Blackbird.
Yeah.
I reckon one sit down chat with Snargle and she'll like slap the nobility out of you.
So good. I actually do want to see more like people challenging each other's buy-offs or something like that, or like challenging each other's keys and like yeah, I don't know. I think we've seen the keys built up really well. Like we've seen that Kale and Cyrus are really good buds because of like that first scene of them together, and we've seen Lady Blackbird's nobility and stuff. And now I want to see like that shit buy off, but it doesn't have to. It's a choice.
I've been looking at everyone's for next time actually, of trying to get them to like buy off their keys. I'm looking at my own too.
Yeah, I also maybe want to see Cyrus do his warp blood shit at some point, but we'll see. We'll see. Cool. It's like 10 o'clock for me, which means it's 1,000,000 o'clock for our good friend Tomes. Does anyone have anything they'd like to add before we roll out?
Sweet dreams, Tomes.
Awesome session.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. I completely lost track of time because I was just so like enraptured
so did
by
I.
these games. They were great.
No, as soon as you mentioned it, I was like, what's he talking about? And I looked down and I was like, oh.
What time is it now for you?
It's 5.
Ay!
So I've got I can probably get another 2.5 hours of sleep.
All right, let's let him go. It was a real joy. Thank you, everyone. I'll see you 6.5 days from now.
Bye, friends.
Bye, friends.
Bye-bye.